Welcome to episode 46 of the Nerdom and Other Nonsense Anime Podcast. This one is part 2 of our winter 2018 wrap-up, and we will have our final scores for all of the shows that we reviewed this season at the end. We split this one up into 2 parts because the first part ran super long with long, interesting discussions about Violet Evergarden, and as well as Sorayori Motoi Basho. But yeah, we'll get back into it here. We're going to kick it off with the previously recorded audio from After the Rain. Please enjoy. All right, so let's move on to the next show, After the Rain, and that's you, Kat.
Alrighty. Okay, so episode 11, Passing Shower. So a girl with the same injury as Tachibana has recovered and is doing really well, and she breaks a lot of records, and she's kind of like, it's the person that everyone's talking about on the track circuit right now. You see people sort of like, and you see like Tachibana sort of like reacting to that, and then her friends reacting to that, like Tachibana's friends. Like, it's kind of like people are leaving her behind while she's still stuck like here, you know, just standing still. And I mean, you see Tachibana's friend, she's kind of judging Tachibana because like she sees this other person sort of doing what she's not doing. And I kind of think of it like you can't live your life according to what other people think. Like if it's what you want to do, then like you should do that thing. But I don't really think that she even like Akira even knows what she wants to do. So she's still kind of in this in between place.
Limbo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the episode starts. Okay, so like she sees that. Then her friend, Akira's friend, comes to the restaurant, like to meet her, basically to meet Akira, and I don't know. She basically says everything that she's feeling, or tries to, and Akira just kind of doesn't want to hear it right now. Like she's not ready for it. And so then Haruka just leaves. I don't know. It's sad. And then you see the manager, his like longtime friend, his high school friend, one of his books is getting a movie. So once again, they're almost mirroring their experiences. We're like, you know.
Yeah, a lot of parallels this episode.
Yeah.
A whole lot.
And you see the manager kind of feeling hurt, but like also happy for his friend at the same time. In this episode, like they did all these shots of the manager's friend, like with his hair, like flipping and shit. And I was just like, this guy's hair is like ridiculous for.
He does have really nice hair
for someone in Japan. Like for this to be like supposedly modern day, I'm like, no one has hair like that.
He's a blonde, so he might possibly be a foreigner.
Or is it white? I don't know.
He has like white hair.
Yeah, it's white. He might possibly be a foreigner then. You never know.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. They went to school together and everything though, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? It's interesting. So they make coffee together, like kind of like stovetop coffee. And then while the stovetop coffee makes, it usually takes it about 5 minutes. And they write like short stories, and their object is like to get the story done before the coffee is finished, and then swap them and read them, like read each other's, which is kind of interesting. Like it's a good writing exercise.
Yeah. And
you see like the manager sort of being like, well, maybe I should start writing again. Like I'm kind of out of practice, but maybe I should. And then it kind of flips to Akira later in the episode, sort of like looking at her old track stuff and like thinking once again about maybe I should start running. Like once again, kind of paralleling the two. I don't know. There's a lot of really good quotes in this episode. It's kind of a feely episode more than it is a lot of things happen. Then there's a scene at the very end of the episode where the manager asks Akira if there's anything else that she wants to do with her time, because she's been scheduled for all this work because she's been signing up for it. And like, I mean, usually a teenager doesn't want to work that much. So she gets really angry and like slams the locker and says that there isn't. And that's the end of the episode. I was a little worried at this point because it seemed like there's not a lot happened in this episode. Like, I mean, it was interesting and there were a lot of feelings in it, but not a lot happened, and there's a lot left unresolved, and there's only one episode left. But I still really like the series. I don't know.
Yeah, I totally agree. I thought the parallels were pretty good between Akira and Kondo. Yeah, Kondo.
Yeah.
But I also felt like the romance aspect just seems to have like died off completely at this point, and instead now it's just like focusing on rediscovering one's own previous passions, and it seemed kind of abrupt to me. I was like, what happened? So that would be obviously Kondo with his writing, maybe Akira for running. We don't know yet this episode. Mm-hmm. But it does seem like Kondo is going to start writing again, but still unsure if Akira is going to go back to track and field and whatnot. I think I would like it a lot better if she her way of moving on instead was not going back. It was just her just taking up jogging as like a hobby or something and just moving on with another part of her life or something like that. I think that would be the way better ending. But so we find out that's not what happens. We got Bcom.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you that the show seems to have forgotten that Akira has these like unresolved romantic and sexual feelings for Kondo, and it's kind of just like conveniently ignoring that so they can just wrap up the story where they just focus on their own like lives and getting back, which is like, I would have been fine if the show had been building to that all along, but the show built up this huge sexual tension between them this huge theme
that's
of
how
how
it
like
starts off.
I
mean,
really don't
out loud.
think that they built up this huge sexual tension between them. I think that the whole show is supposed to be building up to this. I think it was supposed to be about Akira being a teenager and therefore not really understanding love, and like feeling like maybe she has a crush on him, but then realizing it's not that way. Like, I feel like it was totally planned the whole time.
I don't know. Like any good story, you're supposed to have a problem that happens somewhere in the middle or early beginning. Well, the first problem that we had here was just what we thought about their relationship.
Yeah.
So that felt like, to me, it should have been more about that. And then it wasn't a little bit later on. They were dropping hints, something was up with the track and field with Akira. And then they started talking about that a little bit more. And then now we just went to this. And I'm just like, I'm still hooked from the beginning, where I was like, where are they going to go with this relationship? But
yeah, my question at this point is like, why was this relationship ever romantic if they were never going to explore the problems that would come out of it? Like, there was just no point. Like, It's just like, oh, we made it romantic to draw controversy and draw viewers into the show, and then at the end, we're just gonna ignore it completely. But like, besides that whole problem, like the other problem I had is like at the end of this show, because they had set up all this stuff between her and Kondo, and they had no way for her to like get back to running without introducing a brand new character, this girl who was breaking like track records in another high school, who had the exact same injury as Akira and rehabbed and came back. So they introduced this perfect parallel to her as a way of showing her that she can come back, rather than her figuring out for herself that she should try to come back on her own. She doesn't need to have like, well, but of course she would be aware that people can come back from injury. There's no reason she has to see some girl.
It works in real life sometimes. Like, don't you have to see other people succeeding before you're like, maybe I can do this too?
Would it have been better if it was Haruka who got this injury before her and actually managed to recover herself? That would have made.
Or how about the character on the soccer team who already had an injury and is already coming back from it, and she could have talked to him? Like, we already had a perfect character who she could have seen this happening for, yet they introduced this character who is like a perfect parallel to her, who shows her exactly what she needs to see. And I'm just like, this is a little too clean.
I know that you guys are frustrated that they switched directions completely, but I feel like it was very well planned and it happens pretty naturally. Like, you're never startled by the fact that they're talking about the issues they're talking about. Like, you just, I mean, I don't know. I really do like the idea that the anime is about like people realizing that they like, sometimes you pause on the journey to like completing your goals, and like you have to decide for yourself like whether you're gonna keep going or whether you're gonna like give up.
Yeah.
I like that as a theme of the series. And I mean, they did hide the lead, but a lot of shows do that. Like, this certainly isn't the first show.
It's just a weird way of overshadowing that lead, if that's the story you eventually want to tell. My one other comment on this was that Kondo, Chihiro, his friend, is like urging him to get back to writing, right? Which is nice. Like, Kondo loves writing, but he's also obsessed with the writing to the point that it directly led to his divorce and his current like life situation. And the show doesn't deal with that at all. They're just like, let's be happy that Kondo's getting back to his true love, which is writing, and just completely ignore that like he can't spend 50% of his life with his kid anymore because he was so obsessed with writing that he broke off his last marriage because of it, or his wife left him.
I mean, we don't know if that's 100% like his fault either. Like, I don't know. And also, a lot of people who are really devoted to like something that they love, like they do end up having relationship
I'm pretty sure at one
issues.
point Kondo did say that's why his
he did say that, but like you only see that small little window into it. So like you don't, I don't know, just because he feels
I mean that's his perception of what happened. At least.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people have relationship problems when they have a big goal in life, and that doesn't necessarily mean we should all just not have like goals and we should give up our goals for our personal relationships. I think you have to decide that for yourself, what's most important to you.
Yeah, but they didn't even talk about that, so that would have been a good point too.
Yeah, exactly. I would have liked an interesting discussion of him trying to balance that.
Yeah, but there's more of this in
it is only 12
episodes
too. Yeah, if it was 24, then I would be upset that it didn't. But like, it can't cram anything else in. It's already so.
Yeah. All right, should we jump into the finale?
Yep.
All right, so episode 12, which is self-titled After the Rain. So the beginning of this episode involves Akira thinking about what she wants to do with the rest of her life, which is like brought on by, they hand out like, the Japanese career path survey in her high school. She like makes it into a paper airplane and she like pretends like she's going to throw it, but she holds on to it like instead of throwing it away. So there's a cute moment at the diner when Yoshizawa is getting his hair cut by Nishida again, and she knows that she wants to become a hairdresser, and Yoshizawa has decided he wants to go to college, but he's like really impressed with Nishida and how she already knows what she wants to do. And he asks her like, how did you decide that you want to become a hairdresser? And she gets really, like embarrassed because it's obviously because of him. And she tells him like, well, this guy was so happy when I cut his hair, blah, blah, blah. And he just like keeps encouraging her, and he like believes in her, and he makes her promise like that she'll cut his hair when she's a professional. It's a very cute scene. I really liked them.
You see like the eagerness in his voice. He's like, finally, the moe. I found it.
Well, it's one of like the really like nice like light moments in this show.
Yeah, true. And maybe one of the relationships that actually went somewhere.
True. It is the only relationship that went anywhere in this show. Yes. Kondo hasn't been around the office lately because he's been going to like the company's head office, and it's kind of mysterious at the beginning why he's been going. The workers think, oh, maybe he's going to get promoted and we'll get a new manager. At track practice, Akira sees... Oh, wait. No, I think it's Haruka, sees these two young prospective students who are like coming to look at the track field. And she has a flashback to when she and Akira were young and moe also. And they have like this scarf like wrapped around both of their necks, and they're like all happy, and they're looking at the track field. And
Akira was a completely different person in that scene.
Yeah, exactly. Like, very different. You can see why Haruka is so upset that she has lost that like person in her life.
Yeah.
They used to be so close that they literally wrapped the same scarf around each other's necks. Like, they were that close and like really happy, and they promised each other like they would feel the wind together, like running track. At work, Kondo's son Yuta shows up and tells Akira that he fell during like track and field in gym class. And then all of a sudden, he's like really interested in learning about running and asks Akira to teach him how to run behind the restaurant. So he says some stuff about he's going to like run to the end, and he's never going to give up, and he'll never give up running because he must cross the finish line. And it's just so clearly designed to be the exact thing that Akira needs to hear at that moment. It's like I was talking about with last episode, where she sees the perfect girl who had the same exact injury and rehabbed and came back from it. And then the boss's son all of a sudden is interested in running and is like telling her the exact like pep talk that she needs to hear. It's really cheesy. I did not like this at all.
I had a little bit of the same problem with that also.
Yeah. He also tells her like his dad is working really hard too on his writing and stuff. So later, Kondo tells Akira that he's been working hard. He's really enjoying it, even though it's like a struggle for him. And he tells her he has promised to live his life together with literature and wants to fulfill that promise he made to himself a long time ago. He then asks her, like, she's given him the shift schedule for the next month. And he's like, are you sure you really want to work this much? He's kind of gently prodding her to see if she wants to go back to track. And he reminds her that she also made a promise to herself, but has maybe forgotten about it. And so that night, Akira goes home and she looks at this guidebook for rehabbing and seriously considers it. And then the next day, we find out that those trips that Kondo had been taking to the head office were to take some like really strict lectures, because their company is like a branch restaurant and they have a new menu coming out. And if the manager can't like memorize the menu for a test, like they can't get the menu at the restaurant. So he like failed the test. So their restaurant is like the only one in the chain.
Well, but the reason that he failed it is because he's been writing every night.
Exactly. He's not focused on
dream.
it.
Yeah.
That's true. So he leaves the restaurant and the workers are all like, oh, that's what was going on. And so
can
he
I say real
leaves.
quickly? In all honesty, they were probably only getting a couple new items.
Yeah.
To their menu,
I don't know
so
how
we only
you
had
can't
to memorize a couple things.
Like 2 or 3 things. I was thinking that too. Like how bad? Like, I mean, come on. I don't know.
Yeah, when I worked at a restaurant,
be?
we'd get like 2 or 3 new items at a time, and all I had to do was glance at them once. Because
well,
I've been over the rest of the menu so much, it is memorized. Give me a break.
Yeah. So he goes to leave the restaurant, but he leaves this big like binder of like study materials behind, and Akira picks it up and goes after him. And as she's going after him, she flashes back to when she like tripped and hurt herself running, and like was listening to Haruka like yelling at her to like run and encouraging her. And she basically remembers all these promises that she made with Haruka to see the wind together when they were running track at school. So she jogs up to Kondo and gives him the notebook, and she smiles at him and tells him it'll stop raining soon. And then the sun comes out, and they stare at each other for a moment before he gets like a phone call, which interrupts this moment. And she starts to leave, and she's like walking away. And as Kondo watches her leave, like the whole world around her turns into this big cloudy blue sky. And then he yells out her name, and then she just like runs, she turns and runs back at him at like top speed and like hugs him, and they kind of like hold each other for a little bit. It's basically like a moment where they're acknowledging how they feel about each other, and they're just kind of thanking each other for everything that they've done to like help each other move on from their bad moments in their lives, basically. And so as they like, when they let go of this hug, he tells her like, one day when each of us fulfill our promises, and he kind of trails off, and she says, I'll definitely let you know right away. So in my mind, that is leaving open the possibility of, if not just a friendship, like a relationship down the line.
You guys are too focused on the romantic part of it.
Oh,
like,
no. This show was focused on the romance the whole show.
It really is not. Like, even when they're like hugging each other, there's not much sexually between them. Like, it's pretty clear the entire time. Like, I don't know. It's pretty clear that he's not, like, Kondo is not into her in that way. Like, he's very awkward with her, and not in a like, ooh, I'm so awkward because I'm like turned on. It's more like, ooh, I'm awkward because I don't feel anything at all for this really young girl.
Oh, he doesn't not feel anything at all. That's not true. He feels things, but he knows he shouldn't be feeling them, so he's trying to contain himself.
I mean, physically, maybe he thinks she's hot, but I don't think that he's attracted to her. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's not.
I think he is. I think some of those scenes where he flashbacks and imagines himself with his old high school girlfriend.
Well, he's seeing his old relationship through her, but that doesn't mean he cares about her. It means he misses his ex-wife.
I think he cares about her though too. Like,
I don't think he does.
It's all about Akira.
I think that it's really about like him sort of guiding her and their friends, and they feel a lot towards each other because they've helped each other out, but there's not anything romantic between them. I think you guys are reading into that.
I think you're crazy.
The show starts off with us focusing on their relationship, so I never looked away when it started changing. I'm like, well, what happened here? And so like I just feel like the end to this show was like, the lesson here is to never give up on your dreams. And then that's all well and good, but I had the problem when it came up into the middle of the show. What we started off with was an awkward romance that never got resolved, and then they had like the scene that Bcom just talked about right here, where they say something like, we will talk or whatever after they have fulfilled their promises. So I'm just like, am I to assume they might potentially date once they have both achieved their promise? I guess
definitely leaving the door open.
Yeah, the end,
I don't
that
think so.
totally left a flop. This ending flopped for me. I was just like, I don't feel like I got a real ending.
Well, hold on. Let me just finish the last like couple things that happened in the episode. So after that, they leave. Akira sends a text to Haruka that says, "Let's see the wind again." So we get the sense she's going back to track, obviously. And then there's like a final line where Akira says she'll always remember the person who taught her about her future. Whenever she looks at the sky after the rain. And we also see that Kondo's like new manuscript that he's writing is called After the Rain, which is like a cute little note. So yeah, like obviously in the end, the show focused on like them changing each other as people, showing each other how to move on from their past and into a new future that they couldn't maybe have imagined without meeting each other. But the whole line where he says like, once we fulfill our promises, like he doesn't finish what he's saying, but he leaves that open to interpretation what he means. Like I think it's very
just,
clear.
Like, we should get together. We should like see each other. Like we should get back together and see how each other are doing in our lives. Like you guys are like
maybe.
It could be that also.
She had a wet dream about him, Kat. I mean, like obviously she thinks of him sexually.
She did.
That was not in the very beginning. That was in the middle of the show.
But that's because she's a teenager, and then in the middle of the show, towards the end, you see her realizing like, oh, this thing I felt for him isn't real. It's just me being distracted.
I never got that at all.
I never saw that scene.
Never got that.
When did that happen? Like I completely missed that. If it did, like they kind of just drifted into a different plot line and never talked about the sexual feelings that she had for him anymore.
It's because
or how
she's
she was
realizing
like
that they weren't real. That like she cares about him as a person and she's interested in him because they're very similar in some ways, but that she doesn't actually like love him. That's because she's realizing that, and so then they transition.
I don't see the scene or any part where that she
it's
was
not
having
like
that realization.
Some huge like scene. It's just like little things that you see in context.
I don't remember any little things or anything like that. I kind of saw her just kind of like being more patient with him. That was the most I ever saw.
Yeah, I mean, like this whole scene is built on subtlety. Or sorry, this whole show is built on subtlety because Akira doesn't talk a lot. Like we're meant to like judge a lot of the things that she does or says by like her body language, or
a
like,
lot of it is her and Kondo both staring at each other.
Yeah. Like, so I think there's a lot of ways you can interpret this. And I think Kat's interpretation is valid as well. Like, I'm not saying Kat's wrong. I'm just saying I disagree. Like, I don't interpret it that way. Like, I think it's perfectly valid to interpret it both ways based on how the show
you
set
see
up.
Their relationship transitioning from her pursuing him to them being friends and her realizing like maybe she needs to get over this crush, like, and move on with her life, basically.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, yeah, that's one way to look at it.
At the end, I felt like she wanted to work all that time because she could then spend more time with him. I felt like that was her reasoning for doing it.
The whole reason she was working a lot was trying to distract her from the whole track thing. And
I felt a little bit of that also, but I also felt like she was just wanting to be there with Kondo the whole time. Because she was almost her world at that point. That restaurant was her hobby.
Yeah, that restaurant was her hobby. I agree with that. So...
Yeah. Well, anything else on this before? I mean, we can talk more in final scores, obviously, but we could move on.
I'm good for now.
Sure.
All right. Let's move on to Eurocamp.
Okay. So, like, in episode 11, like, they all set a time to meet up at this campground. But then they all get there early. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, this is so Japanese. These bitches are all always early, aren't they? Like, I don't know. Like, if someone actually arrived on time, would everyone look at them and be like, you're late? Like, I don't know. I realized watching this episode that the campsite sites with open plains and grass really kind of weird me out, and this campsite was one of them in this episode, because I've never camped in an area that's like isn't densely wooded with trees everywhere. Like, I've never seen a campsite that's just only grass. Like, have you guys ever camped?
Same here, but the field didn't strike me as odd. I think
it reminds me of like
seen
Woodstock or something, or like Coachella.
maybe something like that. Yeah, Bcom, because like I've never seen a campsite like that. But maybe like in Japan that's more common. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it did weird me out. So I thought I'd say, okay. And then once again, we get a shot of Nadeshiko's sister, and she is so fucking hot. Like, oh my god, did you see her in this episode? Like, damn, call me baby. And then no, seriously, she's.
And you talk about me for looking at for Moe. Okay, anyway, move on.
It's not Moe.
Her name's
it's
Sakura.
Just she's hot. She's older. She's not Moe at all. Like, she's all cool and calm.
You don't have to be young to be Moe. That is a myth.
Okay, and then Nadeshiko in this episode is wearing some sort of weird poncho thing. It looks weird. Yeah. That's all I know. So then they get there and they make these s'mores. And they're not
s'mores.
S'mores.
You're right.
They're not. Like, they're like, ooh, this is the thing that Americans call a s'more. And like, it's not graham crackers, so it's not fucking s'mores. Graham crackers are made, or s'mores are made with graham crackers. Period. End of sentence. There are no circular graham crackers.
It blew my mind they didn't know what they were, because like the very first things I learned to make as a young child was probably a PB&J and how to make a fucking s'more. So like them not knowing this, I'm like, how do you not know?
Didn't they use like chocolate spread instead of like a chocolate bar? And I was like, that is also blasphemy. Like, what are you guys creating?
For a minute, it's like they couldn't get the right ingredients, so they did their best to improvise.
Yeah, well, they should use like a Meiji chocolate bar, which is like their Hershey's essentially or something. And I don't know if they have graham crackers in Japan. I'm not sure. Listeners, let us know if you know.
That shook me. I was like, you can't fucking call that a s'more, bitches. Okay, and then once again, you see that Ren doesn't like Aki. Like, I swear to God, they don't get along at all.
I totally understand that. Though.
Like, so she carries all of the firewood on her like moped thing, except like one piece that she leaves just for Aki. She's like, here you go, this is for you. Like, you fucking bitch. Like, carry it back.
Yeah, she doesn't like her because like Rin likes to be independent and Aki likes to be in control of everything, and they butt heads because of that. For sure.
The rest of them are just like, oh, we're just gonna act like this is fine. Which, I mean, that's probably the right way to handle it in a group if you see two people butt heads.
Wait, who are you saying Rin doesn't like?
Chiaki, the blue-haired girl.
I kept hearing Aki. I'm like,
they call her Aki for short.
Aki.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so then they get back with the firewood, and this sloppy ass teacher is already drunk, like in the middle of the afternoon. Like, can teachers really fucking get away with that in Japan? Because in the US, that bitch would be out. She would be fired so fast. There would be like a media campaign about this. Like, I don't understand. So then that one girl came who had the dog.
Enna.
I don't remember her name right now.
Enna?
Yeah, so she brought her dog, and they start playing frisbee with the dog. And I'm just like, that frisbee is as big as the dog that you're throwing the frisbee for. Like, little dogs don't play that much in real life either. Like, I don't know. Yeah, they might as well not have had any supervision. I don't even know why the school was like, you need the teacher to come with you, because the teacher is useless this whole time.
She's passed out. She's flat passed out.
She's
in like
passed
the middle
out.
Of the afternoon.
And then when she does wake up, she's like, oh, fuck, I'm awake. I better like pour a bunch of whiskey into my hot cocoa so I pass out again, because I can't stand to be awake with these bitches. Like, that's what I got from that.
That's good.
I don't know what the fuck happened to that teacher in her life, because like she just can't even stand to be present. Like, she has to be drunk at all times.
She is blitzed out of her mind most of the time we see her in this show.
Pretty much. Then they make sukiyaki for dinner. And that did make me hungry because I think they had like sizzling meat shots and stuff, and I was like, oh, I want this.
Oh yeah, the show does a pretty good job of doing a little bit of food porn.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Then they have this dumb thing where it's like secret society blanketo, and of course Bcom like fucking loved it. He like ate it.
It was
up,
a callback.
Like, he loved it so much, like moe slut that he is.
It was so cute. It was so cute. They're all wrapped up in the little blankies.
You are such a moe slut.
Top of
just their little eyes peeking out. So good.
That's what your nickname is going to be from now on. Moe
slut. Moe slut Bcom. MS Bcom. I've earned my MS.
Exactly.
Masters in Science in Moe.
Then they all put on Santa gear, which was just dumb. And I was like, fucking take that off right now. Take it off.
This must be a Japanese thing because they just did it in a place further also.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, again, these weird coincidences that show up in different shows in the same season.
Yeah, so it makes you think this has to be just like a Japanese thing, and it's because it's their thing. We don't understand it.
Well, they must be like, ooh, look at us behaving like the foreigners behave. They do this. And we're over here being like, we don't fucking do this. You're weird. Take it off. Like...
But then you see us around Halloween and you're like, God damn.
True. This is true.
Then they make like another type of sukiyaki that has tomato in it, which actually looked even better.
Yeah.
And then they started
I hate tomato.
This other thing, or was it the tomato sukiyaki that they made with cheese pasta?
I think so, yes.
I don't remember if it was that or if it was a third thing they made, because they made so much food in this episode. And all I could think was like, what do you mean cheese pasta? Like pasta with cheese in it? Like I don't understand that.
Cheeseception.
That blows my mind.
I'll take it.
Blasphemy.
It's like those pizzas
again.
with like the cheesy crust.
Some things just don't, I don't know. Maybe if I ate it, I would feel differently. But my reaction to that just from hearing it is just to be like, fuck no. And then Rin, the silent anti-hero, saves the day. She goes to get the gas at the end of the episode with her hands in her pockets like a boss, just like walking away. And I'm just like, oh yeah, girl, you know what's what. You got this.
I loved this episode. For me, this was like the best episode of the entire series. I was like a little sad that like we finally got like the entire camping group together for one trip, and then we only have like one episode left after that, which is basically a continuation of this episode, which is fine. But like, I so badly want to see like more camping adventures with these girls. Like, they're so fun to watch, especially Rin and Nadeshiko. But like, yeah, there were just so many cute moments in this episode. Like, and I love that Rin like had that accepting like scene of like, hey, it is kind of nice to camp with other people. Like, you knew that was going to happen, but like it was great the way they portrayed it.
Yeah, everything that Bcom just said, pretty much.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Give us a season 2. I would gladly watch it. It would guarantee make our top 10 for sure, no matter what else was airing that season.
I don't know if it would make our top 10 no matter what, but I'd fucking watch it.
I would watch it too. Yeah. All right, episode 12.
If Bcom is our moe obsessed person, then Kat is our anti moe person.
I don't hate all moe. I just don't like most of it, and like I'm very picky on what season 2 or season 3s that I would want to pass, because like you need new things in your life.
True, I agree. Like at a certain point, there's no point in like reviewing the second season of a show if you've already reviewed the whole first season and you don't expect it to be like drastically different or anything, or just like really, really good. Then like there's decisions to be made there with so much anime airing. Mm-hmm. But okay, let's get into the finale. Mount Fuji and the laid back camp girls. So they're still camping out at Mount Fuji, and the episode starts off with this funny dream sequence.
Awesome.
It's so good. Nadeshiko is like imagining what their group will be like in 10 years, and you're not aware that it's a dream at first. So she's just like, oh yeah, the girls are talking about her, and she's like, oh yeah, she became that like camping company mega CEO, and like she like bought all like the campsites or whatever, and like she arrives to the camp in the tent from the OP that has like rocket boosters attached to it,
so
and then gets
stupid.
out, and then Yeah, finally they snap out of it at that point.
I was like,
fun.
what is this?
It was really cool because you saw them as like grown-ups and stuff, and like Rin cut her hair off, and I was like, no, it was so long. But it was just a neat take.
For sure.
Yeah. I did think it was interesting how in this like whole anime, like they start to point out how Nadeshiko like loves camping even more than Rin does, and like that's why she's a CEO in this whole dream sequence. I don't know, because at the beginning she didn't even like camping, like, and she just stumbled into it, and like now she loves it. It's interesting.
Yeah. So someone from Saito's family comes to take Chikawa home, the little dog, because Chihuahuas get too cold at night to stay camping. The girls take baths together, which is whatever. Then we get the bombshell we've all been waiting for. Oh my God, Leo. This episode could not have given me a greater gift. Like, there's no way.
Bcom lost his mind.
Bask in the glory. Go sit in the back and gloat.
Immediately messaged me and told me to go fucking watch this episode and do not look at the Google Doc. I was like, all right. I go check it out. As soon as I got to it, I messaged him back. I'm like, holy fuck, dude.
So we actually have a little clip to play from a prior episode of the podcast. I'll do some editing magic and...
Yeah.
In my opinion, she said hi to these two women who have fancy gear, and one of whom is getting like real drunk at the time. And the Nadeshiko thinks, they might be a couple. And then Rin says, quote, "What a helpful guy." And my mind was completely blown because this character has the most feminine character design possible.
I don't understand how you thought he was a boy or he was a girl. Like,
are you kidding me?
I had
no way.
You look at him, you see him speak, you're like, yeah, that's a boy. That's a feminine boy.
No. First of all, female voice actor, confirmed. Very feminine facial features. And just like overall dressed like very androgynously. Like, I don't think it was clear at all.
You guys just don't watch enough pretty boy anime.
All right, so Miss Chug's little sister was the one who was like with her at the campsite, and it is a girl. It is a girl, Leo. Okay. We were fucking right.
In my defense, traps are much more common than reverse traps. It is 95% of the time correct. If you assume an androgynous character is a man, is a boy, you have to admit this.
Yeah, unless she looks like a girl.
No, she doesn't look like a girl. She looks like a boy.
She does. I have a picture in the Google Doc. Look at her eyes. They're so feminine.
They say it in the fucking episode.
What's the best thing about that clip is that you are 110% positive it's a guy cat.
I've watched too many fucking yaoi in my life. Alright? I'm pretty sure I've watched every yaoi that's ever existed in this universe. Like, of course I think it's a girl.
And even at the end of that conversation, you still hear Bcom and I like, we're not convinced.
Not convinced at all.
Because, like, I don't know.
So you're saying you've watched too much yaoi is what you're saying? And that's kind of ruined it for you?
No, I'm saying that 95% of the time, if you see an androgynous character in an anime, it is a guy. 95% of the time.
Oh yeah, 95% of the time. But this time, we were right. And it was glorious.
Oh god, maybe we need to cut that out. I don't know. I don't think I've ever used that in the podcast.
Wait, what did you say?
She said the C word.
Oh, that's fine. I don't care. All right, we can move on.
All right.
After the baths, the girls all put their hair up in a bun that they called the shimarin dango, which is really cute. Aoi imagines like this Yamanashi special dish called the shimarin dango, which are dumplings that are shaped just like Rin's like head. I would definitely eat these 100%. Like, please make these.
It seems like a lot of work, like to put your hair like that. I don't know. We're gonna have why do we have so many conversations on this podcast about people's hair?
We're fascinated.
Anime hair is glorious. So they passed the time that night by like watching movies on Chiaki's tablet because she basically bought like a Netflix subscription. They don't say Netflix, but it's basically what it is. And after that, they head to bed, and Rin and Nadeshiko share like a few like precious moments before they fall asleep, talking about their future and stuff. And then Nadeshiko points out like a UFO in the sky, but says it's moving really slowly. And Rin's like, UFOs don't move slowly. And she's like, well, it might be a chill UFO, Rin.
I love that line.
Killed me. Right before they fall asleep, they promise to go camping together a lot next year too and stuff. So they all wake up. Nageshiko gets up early so she can make breakfast as she promised for Christmas morning. She makes like traditional Japanese breakfast, like grilled salmon over rice and stuff like that. Rin helps her with like veggies and natto miso soup, and the girls like stumble out of their tents one by one. And like hungover Miss Chug is like the last one to come out. And then they all take this like nice moment to like look at the sunrise over Mount Fuji. So after this, they all head home. The girls talk about possibly finding one more member so they can get an even bigger club room. However, they like how fast they can clean the little closet that they have right now because it's like 2 by 8 feet. I don't know. It's like so tiny. Meanwhile, Nadeshiko worries about like finding a job so she can have money for camping gear. And luckily, Aina is able to hook her up with like a part-time job writing or delivering New Year's cards or something. So the ED plays at the end, and then we get a scene when Nageshiko biking with her camping gear, and she goes to the same exact spot that Rin went to at the very beginning of the series. And in fact, like the whole scene as she's biking there is a direct parallel to the scene of Rin biking in the first episode to that spot. But like, it's just to show that Nadeshiko is now like a year later an experienced camper, just like Rin was back then. She sets up her tent and equipment, and like one cute detail is that she saved up enough money to buy the little lamp burner from that store like a few episodes back.
I missed that. That's awesome.
Yeah. And she gets a text from Rin asking her like, what's up? Where are you? And she surprises her by saying like, oh, I'm solo camping. And it turns out Rin is, of course, solo camping as well. Because when is she ever not solo camping? So they decide to snap pictures of like the campsite they're at and see if they can guess where they are. And of course, they're at the same one, which is adorable.
Funny because Rin takes the picture of Nadeshiko taking the picture. So she looks at like, what?
This is very cute.
I thought
what a
the
nice way
very
to end the
last
series.
part of the episode was a little weak, but like most Iyashike shows are kind of weak at the very, very end because like it's hard to end them. So I'm not even that mad. It's fine.
There wasn't like much like conflict or like stuff like drama to wrap up by the end of this. It was just like, hey, look where we started and here's where we are now.
Yeah,
that's basically what the ending is.
I think one of my favorite things about this show was that there really was almost never any drama, and if there was, it was played purely as comedy.
Right.
And I think that's part of the reason I enjoyed it so much, because sometimes I don't like to watch shit because I'm like, man, I gotta go be sad for 20 minutes. That's what I call the Junji Ito Collection blues.
Oh, it is not.
But we'll get to that
sad.
later.
Okay. Right.
I was going to compare it more to like Violet Evergarden, like, man.
Oh, when you're just like not emotionally in a place where you want to watch that.
Yeah. I feel you there, Leo. That show,
like
every time I would have to watch an episode of Violet Evergarden, I'd just be like, all right, time to be sad for the rest of the night.
I made sure I had Mitsubishi colors like dialed up afterwards, or Euro Camp or something, because I'm like, I need to get something to pull me back out of that funk when I get stuck in it.
I couldn't even watch anything after I watched an episode of that show. I just have to go to bed. I'm done.
So anyways, earlier I talked about how like camping can be kind of crappy in its own way, but the show has kind of made me want to go camping again. But first, I gotta get some of the sweet equipment that Ren keeps using, because that's some fucking awesome stuff.
That's an expensive investment.
I'm
just gonna say that right now.
I know. Just during the summer, having a decent sleeping bag and a tent that maybe even split with a buddy. And then once you guys like bought food for the night or whatnot, then you get out there, you realize you spent almost up to $100. You're like, God damn. But I would like to try more of like a fall time camping, because I like the idea of no bugs. And I'm a very warm-blooded person. So like I love the cold weather. So it would be fantastic for me. I'd sleep fine. I wouldn't have to get drunk to pass out in 85-degree weather.
Yeah, there's nothing like waking up at a campsite and making your own coffee and just drinking it, and like there's wildlife all around you. It's fun.
Oh, see, we never did that. We were too hungover and just chugging water. Or if we were staying 2 nights, we'd just start drinking again.
So you're that like campground at the corner of the area, just like everyone's drunk and they're all just like snoring with like their shirts up and their bellies showing and shit.
Yeah, pretty much.
The drunk campers.
All right,
guys.
Anything else before we move on to the next one? No.
Cat was wrong.
Cat was wrong. It was great. I love it. All right. Yeah. Hakata Tonkotsu Ramens. Leo, take it away.
Oh, I finally get to talk.
All right.
Okay. Episode 11 is called Brawl. And I finally found out why he's called the Submarine Ninja, because his pitching style is called Submarine.
Yeah, when you throw underhanded in the major leagues, they call you like a submariner.
I didn't even know you could throw underhand in the major leagues. I thought it only had to be overhand, just like softball's underhand.
Yeah, you can throw sidearm, you can throw underhand, like you can do a lot of different things, but it's very rare.
Why didn't you bring this up earlier when I was like, why is he called the Submarine Ninja?
I didn't remember you saying that. I guess I would have.
I didn't say that. I was either somebody in this episode or I actually just typed, somebody said something like a submarine pitch, and I went, what? So I immediately Googled it, and I was like, oh, so that's what happened. So anyways, Shinsuke and Faye have their little fight and do a good job of trading blows and being on equal ground. But the guy in the suit that was with him earlier fires his gun and nicks Shinsuke in the arm, who almost comically falls into the water. But anyways, Bomba was watching the fight and pulls Shinsuke up with Nor because he can't swim and whatnot. And eventually Shinsuke
so does it,
go ahead.
Shinsuke's friend like later like, oh, why are you wet? And Shinsuke doesn't want to admit that he like almost drowned. And so he's like, I saved someone who was drowning.
Yes, he does.
And then his friend is like, that's funny. I remember that you couldn't swim.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. But anyways, Faye captured 2 of the guys from the Shangwan group and forced the 2 of them to fight for their freedom. Basically, one has to kill the other to go free. That's not surprising, coming from where he's from. Mm-hmm. But the one does kill the other, and he goes back to the docks with the other guy's head in a box. That rhymed.
Good job.
Faye also placed a ring in the guy's mouth that he got from another job killing some executive of another group. This causes the Shangwan group to ask for a ceasefire from the Kakyo Association because they think they are partnered up with another large group because of the ring. They later on negotiate, and the Kakyo Association asks for the Submarine Ninja, and they will give Faye over to them so they can get their revenge. They come to an agreement. We go to the cafe. Everybody and their brother just starts showing up out of nowhere and giving Lin like things and little gifts and stuff like this. And when the little girl Misaki tells him that running away is for brats, he gets on Inokido for telling everybody except for Bamba where he was at. He's like, well, you only said don't tell Bamba. Inokida then gets a call from the detective and has some questions for Lin. Apparently, there have been 2 people killed with the same name as him and asks if he knows anything. He says no, but he really does know. It's Faye, doing up to something. Mm-hmm. Bamba lenses in on the Kakyo Association as they attempt to drug Faye, but Faye can smell the drug in the sake and takes the head as a hostage and injects him with a virus that stays dormant for a week, and he's the only one that has an antidote.
This is a pretty cool thing.
That like he got from just like raiding that warehouse he was at earlier or something. Mm-hmm. Why he knew what it did, I don't know. Shunsuke's employer, I forgot the good dude's name, drugs him and takes him to a warehouse, but the Shangwan group wants to kill him before they hand him over since he might switch sides. Of course, then they kill these guys off once he finds out they might kill Shunsuke. He's like, oh no, I was on your side the whole time. Inokida finds out who Faye's next target is, and Lin finally confronts him. Faye wants Lin to partner up with him, but he refuses because he loves the city and the people in it.
Okay.
Faye replies that then he will kill these people he has come to care about and then the city and bring it all down and whatnot.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to destroy all these things, so you have to come with me.
Underestimated this. So like Faye, so Faye basically is like, come be with me forever, and like be my partner in life.
Oh, I know where you're going with this. Just go for it.
And like, no, he basically like proposes to Lynn. He's like, come be with me forever. Like, leave all of this behind. And Lynn's like, well, I kind of got something else going on, so like I don't really want to, because Lynn still does kind of care about Faye.
So you see the romance here, but not in After the Rain. This is what blows my fucking mind.
That is a very good point, Bcom. Very good point.
Okay, anyway, that's just a joke.
And then of course Faye, like a creepy, like psychotic, is like, well, I'll just kill everyone else who you care about, and then you'll only care about me. And like, it's ridiculous.
He's the mirror in the Kai.
Oh, sorry.
I was just saying, he's in the mirror in the Kai of Hakata Totsu Ramens.
There's like one little touch I did not like about this episode, and it's when everybody's coming up to Lynn in the like the cafe and like being nice to him, you know, because they figured out he was gonna leave maybe. And like Jose comes up and he's like, hey, I'll introduce you to one of like my dirty sites. And Lynn is like angry, but he like turns to him and is like, I'm not gay like you. And I was like, whoa, Lynn, calm down.
I'm kind of like, well, but you are, Lynn. Like,
it's like, first of all, I was about to say the lady doth protest too much, and that's really bad. I should not say that.
But
like
usually
Lynn
if
doth
you're like
protest
really
too much.
fighting something, it kind of means there's something to it, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of truth there. Is that it? Is all you guys got for
I think that's everything
11?
for 11, yeah.
Okay. Episode 12, walk-off home run. What's a walk-off home run, Bcom?
It's when you hit a home run and it's like you're in the bottom half of like the ninth inning, basically. So if you score, you win, and if you go ahead, you win at that point. So walk-off home run is when you hit a home run in like the bottom of the ninth inning and your team just wins and goes home because you walk off the field, basically.
Okay. Lynn and Faye have a short scuffle, and Lynn jumps out a window and escapes, but he twists the shit out of his ankle. And the show does a gruesome close-up of this.
Yes.
It was... I sat here and I physically went, ugh.
This is what happens when women wear high heels and they fuck up their ankles when they fall or something.
God.
This is what happens on a regular basis to women. You don't fuck around with heels. This can happen to you. PSA.
Yeah.
One of if you're an assassin, that's one of the problems with cosplaying as a girl in high heels.
Or
when you have to jump out
from-
of like a second story window, it's not going to go well.
Yeah, and then this happens in Violet Evergarden also with what's his face.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
No, he's more
parallel.
used to it, I guess.
God.
Well, his boots are also like slit up the sides with like peekaboo laces and shit.
He's probably got some better like reinforcement for those heels in
Pretty
there. They look
much.
pretty sturdy, those boots.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
stop it. Don't you fucking play like that. Get out of here. This isn't a playground.
That's Kat's manslave that she keeps in the room. Don't worry about it.
Sit down. No.
See?
See?
This is how she talks to him. It's horrible.
So anyways, Lynn hides under a bridge and decides to call Bamba, who was already tracking him because Inokita put a tracker on him. As they're talking, Faye shoots Bamba in the back and then tranquilizes Lynn. They wake up to find themselves in a former tiger cage in one of the compounds, and of course, Faye wants them to fight to the death. But during this whole time, the rest of the gang meets up at Gen's ramen stall and asks him if he wants to join in on the fun. Turns out Gen is a former famous assassin called Gigi. So while they're in there, Bomba's had a communication spider in his ear, and he's been working with Inokita this whole time. They figure out where the compound is. Everybody gets a part in this mission, even little Misaki.
I love her part.
She's like, I have to go to the bathroom real bad, and that's how they get access to it. And they drop a little remote control car with a bomb on it. Mm-hmm. Bamba uses a baseball signal to communicate with Lynn, and the whole thing gets coordinated with Inokita blowing out the wall. I had one problem here. They jumped inside a locker full of knives and swords.
Yeah, I was like, how did they fit inside there without killing themselves?
And it fell over. I'm like, they're all dead. They're both dead. They got knives everywhere. But like when they come out of it, like then they're all gone. I'm just like, okay, whatever. It's like, that's the greatest magic trick I've ever seen. Lynn was also able to injure Faye before the explosion with like one of the shooting knives, I think, or he reflected something. I don't remember. And then at that point, the group then basically eliminates everybody at the compound. Gigi just goes fucking ham with a Tommy gun. Like he's like a fucking 1960s gangster just destroying people. Lynn follows the blood trail left by Faye, and they finally have their final confrontation. Lynn finally gets the upper hand by crushing a piece of hard candy he got from Bamba in his teeth and spits it into Faye's face, distracting him. This then allows Lynn to slash Faye across his chest, and he goes down. Lynn kneels over the top of him and shoves a knife into his heart, making sure he's truly dead this time. Then they just obviously end the show with all of them playing a baseball game, and Bamba hits a home run.
I thought it was interesting that they had Lynn kill Faye, because like you don't see a lot in any medium or really anime either, like someone killing someone that they still care about a lot. Like, because it's not out of anger that Lynn kills him. It's more just like, well, you're not going to leave me alone. And so even though I kind of care about you still, like, you know, you're going to have to die.
Yeah, otherwise he's going to try to keep fucking with them the whole time.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, he just decided, like, oh, he's going to just keep coming, try to, like, kill all my friends, and he's not going to listen. So, like, I thought, I was a little disappointed that, like, he couldn't, like, redeem Phelan, or Phelan, whatever his name is. But
I don't feel like he was redeemable at all. And they're also assassins.
Yeah, he
so
wasn't
I feel
redeemable,
like it was a little bit easier
interesting
for them to play this off this way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, their one main thing they do is kill people, so...
Yeah, no, and I like the casual way that the show handles it. Like, they almost gloss over it whenever they do these really kind of ruthless things. And in some ways, like, you want them to go into it more, but in other ways, like, it is part of their character because, like, that's who they are as people. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it's just another hit, you know, sometimes in the end. So
one of the reasons I mentioned that joke with Jose from the last episode is that in this episode, like when what's his name and the little girl are trying to get into the like mansion, and like he's getting really angry that he like the guy won't let the little girl go to the bathroom. He's like, don't underestimate the anger of a gay man. And I'm just like, this show is really having fun with
Jiro
gay jokes these last
Misaki.
2 episodes.
They're such like the gay couple is so cute. Like, I love all the characters in this anime. Like, they're
It's
also
pretty
like unique. Like the way they handle them, like I said, with them being so ruthless and like showing them be that way, but it's casual about it. And then that contrasting with them being like so kind to each other and having this group of friends, and it's really interesting. Like I don't think I've seen characters kind of like this before. So I definitely want them back.
If his true daughter is Misaki, then that means he was straight at one time.
Yeah, that's what I don't know if that's his like biological daughter or if he's just related to her and is raising her, or like if she's adopted. I have no idea. Like they don't really go into it.
I'm going to say if that was actually true, it's funny because I actually know it exact same situation. My buddy, his dad is now gay, but he's had obviously him and 2 other daughters before he then divorced his wife and turned gay.
Yeah, that does happen.
So it happens. It happens.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all I got for that one.
Me too. Should we move on to Ito Junji Collection?
Yeah. Let's get it over with. Let's get it over with.
God
That's
damn,
what I was thinking
guys.
these last 2 episodes.
Okay, it's not that bad. Like,
these last 2 episodes were fucking terrible.
For a
I
horror
think I
anime,
only watched
this is
maybe
pretty damn good for a
5
horror
episodes.
I don't think so so. By the end, it was just there's too much in the show that's miss and not hit. But I guess I'll get into that later. I guess.
So I personally enjoyed most of this series, but that's just because I love all horror anime, and like will always like it, even if it's trash. So anyway, so this new dude transfers to a new school, and he's super excited to see weird things, as he says. And there's like a club in the new school whose whole purpose is to also see new things, or so they say. So like the new transfer guy immediately finds this creepy eyeball plant. Yeah. And as soon as he does this, I'm like, the fuck is this bullshit? Like, this is not going to end well. Like, I don't know what this is, but it's some weird mess. So all the people in this club, like you find out pretty soon after, they kind of get off on pretending they have supernatural powers, but none of them really do. like one of them pretends that he's psychic and he's like, I can tell this, but like it's not real. And then the other one's like, I can bend this spoon, but like it's that trick where people pretend they can bend spoons, but like it's a trick. Mm-hmm. It's like that. You're like, I don't know. So the new transfer guy, like, in this sneaky, underhanded way, points out that they could all be faking it, which I thought was kind of hilarious. He's like, oh, I can bend this spoon too. And he does it. And then he's like, but mine was a trick because this is a trick. Oh, but I'm not saying that you did it as a trick. And I'm like, yeah, you kind of are. So then he shows, like, the new transfer student shows all of the people in the club this waterfall that none of them have ever seen before, and tells them that if you stand under it, you'll gain this like ridiculous power to like zap things with lightning and like go, be amazing. And then soon after that, the spoon guy disappears, like just mysteriously never comes to school again. And then he finds like a mysterious lake, which I think has like a Loch Ness monster in it or something. And then they start to blame the new guy for the spoon dude, like, apparently dying because he's never shown back up again. And the new guy is still, throughout all this, like, all cheerful and happy and is like, what do you mean? I didn't do anything. I'm just showing you all these cool things that are happening. Like,
if you say so.
It's like, all right. And then the spoon dude, which I guess his name is Shibiyama, but, like, I just think of him as Spoon Dude. Like,
that works.
That's fine. Well, it's his own fault. That's what he did in the beginning of the episode. That's his nickname now. So he wakes up from under the lake and comes out, and he's all like fucking rotten and bloated and stuff, and he's got powers though, so he's like a powered up zombie person. And then all of a sudden there are Easter Island statues fucking everywhere, and like the other dude also has powers. And they both have waterfall powers now. And, like, the one psychic guy is like, oh, I killed Shibiyama. Haha, I hid it from all of you. And they're, like, start fighting with their powers and shit. And I'm like, what is happening?
Yup. That was my reaction, too.
At this point, I was like, this isn't even a horror. I was laughing.
I was like, this is a comedy.
But it's supposed to be, I think. This is one, I read into it later, and it's supposed to be kind of comical. Like, that's the whole point of this particular sketch.
Well, in my note, I put supernatural transfer student sounds like a whole other anime that's a comedy.
So then the transfer guy leaves because he's like, I'm bored now. Like, have fun with your fucked up lives that I fucked up for you. But like Kitagawa and Shibiyama, like the two that tried to kill each other basically, and then both kind of died and became weird zombie people, like they leave and like follow him because they're now like supernatural junkies and they like can't stand to not have supernatural stuff around them. So they're like, oh no, we have to go find him. Like, all right. So that's the first half. And then the next story, this bitch named Yuki has died. And Yuki's dad seems to think she died because of the boyfriend, which we don't really get the whole story. Like, they're fighting
I was assuming
it
was going to be like in childbirth or something, but they never really explain it. I don't know.
They don't. Who knows? They fight. There's this weird scarecrow that is supposed to scare the boyfriend away somehow. Like, didn't the dad like put it on the thing and was like, "This will keep you away"? Like, what the fuck?
He's like, "This will keep weasels like you away." That was really mean. Like, holy shit.
That's one way to deal with your grief, I guess. Just be like, I'm gonna put this creepy scarecrow thing on my daughter's grave to keep people I hate away. And then the scarecrow turns into the daughter, like it becomes more and more like the daughter. And then all of a sudden everyone is like, ooh, we also should make scarecrows. And like they start putting them up on the graves and they all start turning into like the people who have died. And at first I was like, this has to be some sort of scam. Like someone's making money off this or something. But then I was like, no, I think this is real. And then it looks like the dude is going to like marry the scarecrow or something. And it seems like that's where it's going. But then the guy is like not into it. And I'm like, oh, okay, he's going to try to run. And then he like tries to leave, and the scarecrow like fucking like falls on top of him on purpose so he can't leave, and like kills him. And so I guess now they're both gonna be scarecrows and just be a scarecrow couple. Who knows?
Are you sure you like this show? Because the way you describe it sounds like you hated it.
What are you talking about? I love like the hot mess parts of it just as much as I love all of the other parts of it. Like,
it's just so weird because like none of this is like horror. Like all of this is like absurdist humor.
Let me get the last part in. So then there's like a scene at the end where there's this little boy who's died, and the dad and the mom like go to visit the grave, and they have one of those creepy scarecrow things up, and the little boy kills his dad because apparently the dad like murdered him. And I'm just like, all right, like whatever. And then the show ends, and I'm just like, no, okay, seriously though, I love the episodes of this show where it is actually really creepy, like the Grease episode. And then I also love the episodes of the show that are so ridiculous because they're amazing in another way. Like you can't lose. Either way, you want to watch it.
I guess like it's hard for me to reconcile like if this was actually their intent or if they wanted us to be unsettled by like the scarecrow stuff. Because like I was never unsettled by it. I was just like, this is really fucking weird and dumb.
Well, so apparently,
why are they doing this?
Some of Junji Ito's sketches are supposed to be scary, and some of them are supposed to be like funny, kind of like making fun of horror. And I think this one might have been one of the ones that's supposed to make fun of horror.
Yeah, I suppose so. It was really funny when that guy like fell over and like impaled himself with like a scarecrow stake that he had pulled out of the ground. Like just the way that physically happened made no sense at all. And I was just like, what is happening? But yeah, I don't know. It was a weird episode. The next episode is so weird too.
I'm so jealous of Leo that he gets this one. This was a good one. Go ahead, Leo.
Oh my god, this one's... God, I don't know if it's worse or not. But anyways, episode 12, Smashed / Rumors. And like Bcom says, like this, it's just so absurd and comical. I cannot find it.
It's amazing. What are you talking about? Every time I would go to watch the show,
dumb.
I'd be like, yes, this is my time. I get to watch Junji Ito.
I will give it that you never know what the fuck to expect from this show.
That's
anytime
true.
You watch
that
it.
is very true. So a dude treks through South America to find a tribe that makes some nectar. He brings it back to Japan and has his friend try some. He warns him, though, that he should not be witnessed when trying it. This is what the tribe said. Do not be witnessed when trying it. Whatever the fuck that means. It instantly hooks the guy, and he brings 4 other friends the next day to try some. Ogi won't answer his door, so they crawl in through like a window, and they all try some, and everybody gets hooked also. But they start noticing this weird smell. So they kind of investigate, and in another room, they just find this huge splatter stain against the wall. And they're like, what the hell? So they take all the nectar with them, and they sit down, and they try some more, and one of their friends just like fucking explodes when tasting the nectar. And they're just like, holy shit! And later, one of the girls freaks out and tries some just to explode also.
So what happens though really is they taste it, one of them explodes, and they're like, holy shit! And then they're like, well, back to eating this fucking nectar.
It's too good to stop.
It's so addicting. So that one girl's post. 2 of them end up going to a cafe, and they can't even eat anything else at this point. Everything else just tastes bad compared to the nectar. And it turns out the third person shows up, and he was experimenting and giving away his own nectar to try and figure out how not to be noticed. Basically he says, I never figured anything out.
Yeah, people just kept dying.
2 of them couldn't take it anymore, and
no, okay, so this point.
Okay, the 3 of them, I'm sorry. They one of them explodes because they can't take it, and they try it again, and she's like, I saw something come out of the sky and smash him. So she's like fucking loses her shit, wanders into the river thinking she can't get smashed there. She tries the nectar and does get smashed, and we actually see like a hand type thing fly through the air.
Yep.
The one guy left finds the map that the first guy used and goes to South America. He eventually finds like a giant tree, and its fucking limbs are big fucking wavy hands, and he like goes up to it and he's like stabbing it, trying to get the nectar out, and he tries it, and then you just see one of the hands smash him.
So, okay, first of all, when the three of them sit down on the side of that river and they just start like tasting it, like taking turns, it almost felt to me like Russian roulette. They're like, well, we're all gonna fucking die because like we're hooked on this. So like, let's just see who dies first. Like, it was really fucking good. And then,
I have a pro tip, but we'll actually Kat, you finish first.
And then, so apparently the tree is like, so there's a lot of like analogies to mosquitoes with this whole episode. So like we are mosquitoes to that tree, and like that's why it's smashing us. Is like
at the second mosquito being smashed in this episode, I was like, all right, it's obvious.
Yeah, soaking the blood of the tree. Yeah, or sucking the blood of the tree. We're the mosquitoes. All right, pro tip for upping your enjoyment of this episode, the first part, is just imagine that the invisible thing in the sky is the Kool-Aid man, and the nectar they're drinking is Kool-Aid, and he smashes them, and he's like, oh yeah!
I was going to say, so every time they get smashed, you hear a, oh yeah!
That would actually be amazing. Oh my god.
Anyway, I had fun with that. All right, tell us about the second part, Leo, when we get the return of such a famous character.
So it made me think of another joke. You know, Macho Man Randy Savage, he was driving and had a heart attack and died.
Oh, yeah.
It just makes you wonder when it happened, he would just suddenly clutch his chest and it was just like, oh no! It just flew off the road. It's awful,
no,
joke.
Brother.
He's like, oh no! And then just, swerves off the road. But anyways, second story is back to that Soichi character from the first episode. He has been spreading rumors to make himself popular, and it worked for a while until one of the other girls called him out because she saw him talking to some girls in a voice that they could barely hear. Man, what if that actually worked in real life? This world would be fucking chaos. It's already chaos. Don't get me wrong right now. Just look at CNN real quick.
It'd be real bad.
Oh, God, it could be even worse. He runs off, but then the main girl starts hearing rumors of a swamp called Maiden's Abyss. Not Maid's Abyss. Maiden's Abyss.
Maiden Abyss.
Two totally different places. That supposedly, if you soak in it, will make you even more beautiful. She has some other girl pinning for her boyfriend, so she eventually goes to the swamp. Once she wades out, Soichi shows up and starts taking pictures of her in the mud as payback for outing him earlier. But then the ugly tall lady that thinks she's beautiful rises out of the swamp and probably ate him. And because he's taking pictures of her without permission.
Take my picture. Yeah.
And my final line is, thank God this show is over.
I was just like, please let her have killed this weirdo.
If I could have gone back and because I switched just at mid-season, I would have put in Killing Bites because I felt like that would have been funner to review.
That may have been a better decision, actually.
Bites.
Yeah.
All right, like I
don't know. Killing Bites is pretty good
too, but like this is better.
I haven't seen past the second episode.
Yeah.
So I have no idea what's going on, but I think I would have funner talking about the outrageous fights.
All right. It's fun watching Killing Bites, but like, come on. You can't get past the hilarity that is Junji Ito.
It's so weird. Like,
it's a horror. So I go into it and I want to take it like seriously. Yeah. But then I'm just at the end going, what the fuck is this nonsense?
That's why it's amazing. I don't understand why you need me to keep explaining this to you.
Because like I want to know what to expect when I'm sitting down to watch like a series. Like when I'm watching a horror anime, I want to be unsettled or scared. Why even
watch it if you know what to expect?
Well, no, I don't want to know what story to expect, but I want to be like scared by that story or have like my thoughts be provoked by it. At the very least, these like last 4 stories, I was just like, that was really dumb. Okay, let's move on. That was even dumber. Okay, what the fuck? Kool-Aid man, what? I don't know. I didn't like how this ended.
Because now I can't stop imagining like people getting smashed and just being like, oh yeah.
I would rewatch an episode just every time they got smashed just to hear it go, oh yeah.
Actually, that would be, like, if awesome. It wasn't only 15 minutes, it would be a good drinking episode. And just like every time one of them gets smashed, just like take a shot and see how long it takes for us to get smashed.
That would only be like 6 shots.
And we would just have to have like Kool-Aid mixed drinks.
Like I said, I wish it was longer
definitely.
because of that. So,
all right. Anything else before we move on?
No, it's all you, Bcom.
All right. Moving on to Saturdays and Darling in the FranXX, episode 11. Partner Shuffle. So yeah, this is like a Mitsuru episode kind of. Mitsuru has these issues with betrayal and has decided to never put his hopes in anyone ever again so as not to be hurt. And all of these feelings seem to center around something that happened on the past with Hiro.
Which they did not foreshadow that enough. Because like I kind of got some of the other like, you know, little things going on. But like I feel like they never showed Mitsuru and Hiro like anything between them at all before this.
I think if there was, it was like very subtle like looks, but like it was hard to tell whether Mitsuru was feeling that way because of like Ikuno or Hiro or whoever. Like yeah, it was a little bit light on foreshadowing.
Did you know if there were two guy characters who had something between them, like I would be on that shit. So like, come on.
All right, so the Parasite team is like really like vastly outperforming any of the other teams because they've been allowed to hit puberty and like their numbers are going off the charts. So, however, Mitsuru and Ikuno, for obvious reasons, are not keeping up with the rest of the team. They're falling behind in kill count. Futoshi, the big guy, asks Kokoro if she'll promise to be his partner forever, since he'll do his best to protect her. And she's kind of like overwhelmed, and she kind of agrees, and she's like, "Yeah, okay."
She doesn't say anything. She just like kind of smiles at him. She doesn't agree, really. She just like doesn't disagree.
Yeah. I think she says okay, but like, yeah, it's like not like a hard, like definite okay. Like, yeah. The group is then all attacked, but Mitsuru can't fight because of something called child fever. Mitsuru was given something called the elixir injection when he was younger, which increases his like aptitude for becoming a parasite by like raising that yellow blood cell count they told us about earlier in the show. However, the injection only has like a survival rate of 15%. So he got lucky that he even survived it. And we learn as a child, Mitsuru had asked Hiro, like, if I take this injection, will you pilot a FranXX with me? And Hiro had said yes. So Mitsuru like recovers from his fever and asks to be put in a FranXX immediately, but his sync levels with it are like very low. So the commanders suggest, what if we do a partner shuffle? And Ikuno knows that Mitsuru just wants to ride with Hiro. She like knows this about him. He's been seeking like Hiro's like recognition since he was a little kid. So Ikuno's like, all right, this is my shot. This will test out this whole lesbian thing. She's like, I need to do a pistol to pistol connection as a backup, she says, for when she
lost. It's like for emergencies, so that we could do it in an emergency. And I'm just like,
exactly.
Bitch, you know that's not what it's for. Like, let's be honest. You want to
so
get
she's
with
like,
her.
all right, Ichigo, help me. Like, and Ichigo's like, okay, I guess I'll try it. So Kokoro asks to try to ride with Mitsuru, and then Futoshi becomes like this blubbering mess because she like broke her little promise to be with him forever, which was ridiculous in the first place.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Ichigo is not able to get it up for Ikuno, and their test is just canceled almost immediately. Because clearly Ichigo is not homosexual. This would not work. And Ikuno
has the hots for Hiro. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Ikuno tells her, like, I was really serious about that, but, you know, Ichigo just ain't gay. I'm sorry, Ikuno. It's not going to work with her. Maybe with another gay girl it might work. I don't know.
It's funny because Ichigo is just like, oh no, it didn't work. And like, she's just like, well, I was actually trying, but
yeah,
all right.
Exactly.
If you want to act like that. Like,
so Futoshi's really upset because he doesn't know what he did wrong to lose Kokoro. And like Zorome tells him, just lose weight, you fat ass. Which is really mean. But, you know, he is constantly eating like at all times throughout this entire show. So he has a point. Hiro tells Mitsuru to try to understand how Futoshi feels. But he just storms off after Futoshi like tries to punch him, like get back at him. Kokoro and Mitsuru have like a brief conversation about childbirth, but it gets interrupted by another Klaxosaur attack. And this large one is formed by like smaller little Klaxosaurs forming together into one big one. And so Mitsuru and Kokoro get in trouble as they're fighting and almost get stepped on before like Futoshi and Ikuno like rush to save them. And Kokoro tells Mitsuru, basically, she doesn't say it word for word, but she basically tells him like, believe in the her that believes in him. It was like basically Gurren Lagann. Yeah,
it's a Gurren Lagann quote.
Yeah. That's why I basically worded it that way, because it was a very Gurren Lagann moment. She also tells him that he can decide for himself, like, to forgive Hiro for forgetting about his promise to ride with him one day. But Kokoro has like broken her promise to Futoshi as well, and she's not like the kind, gentle girl that they all think she is. They're not perfect, unfeeling beings like the adults are. So Kokoro then restarts the FranXX and tries to enter stampede mode, where like basically the pistol, like one of the girls, restarts the maxes out all of their negative energy in the machine, like when 02 was fighting earlier in like another episode. And like, so Mitsuru tackles her off the controls because it's too dangerous. And Mitsuru asks her like how she can trust people so willingly, and she just smiles at him. And then their sync level goes to like 100%. And then they expose the core of this Klaxosaur so 02 and Hiro can pierce through it. When they get back, Futoshi punches Mitsuru in his stupid fucking face for putting Kokoro in danger.
That's not why Futoshi punches Mitsuru in the face.
Oh, why do you think he punched him?
Like, because he's pissed that, like, they get along so well and that, like, Kokoro likes him. Because, like, Kokoro did that to herself. Like, that had nothing to do with Mitsuru. Kokoro decided to go into, like, beast mode or whatever herself. And, like, Mitsuru tried to get her to not do that because it's dangerous. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
Mitsuru
wasn't doing his part of the job either. But
like, okay, think about Ichigo has had moments in this show where she hasn't been able to link, but like no one's angry at Ichigo when like she can't link for a second. She's the leader. Because like it happens when your whole link is about emotional stuff. Like sometimes shit will happen.
Yeah. I mean, like Futoshi claims that he's angry because Mitsuru's not protecting her, and so Mitsuru like diffuses it by saying like, "I promise you, I will protect her from now on." Like, because he had like a realization mid battle that he actually does want to protect Kokoro also. God, saying the words "protect Kokoro" is so funny because it's like protect your heart. But anyway,
I think they're a better couple though, honestly, Mitsuru and Kokoro. So like, I like it.
Sure, I guess they seem to understand each other better. Yeah. Futoshi and Ikuno, on the other hand, not the greatest couple.
Well, but like whoever she was with, it was not going to be a good couple. So like, you know, whatever.
Yeah, she was with Mitsuru.
Yeah. All right. So should we jump into the next episode?
Go for it.
All right. The garden where it all began. Hiro opens the episode by talking about how he doesn't really care about his past, so this is a Hiro episode. He's focused on the present, which is what he sees as the thing that defines what it means to be human, focusing on the present. The whole group are on their way to this place called the Garden, which is the parasite like development facility where they all grew up. And they're going to go to this lab inside of the garden that they never were allowed to see as children. Except for Hiro and Mitsuru, because they were both classified as these like special research subjects. It turns out they're mainly there so 02 can undergo thorough testing. They also bump back into the blonde-haired kid, again, whose name we don't find out in this entire episode. I hate
this part.
This is a running joke for me now. He refers to 02 as 9 Iota, and his group are called the Nines, so clearly she was part of their group at one point. There's a special forces unit. Yeah.
I also cannot tell who's supposed to be fucking female in this group.
I don't know. Like, they don't really introduce many of the characters beyond just like showing them in the background.
No, but they're just showing them on screen, standing right next to him, and I'm like, who are the females?
I don't know. I'd have to look at it closely. I didn't really think about it, but yeah. They're a special forces unit directly under the control of Ape, and 02 used to be part of their unit. And the blonde guy is curious, like, how did you tame her? He's kind of like being a dick about it. And Ichigo gets pissed, which like prompts him to like walk up to Ichigo and then like kneel down and like grab her hand and kiss her on the hand. He's just being like a douche, like suave douche. 02 is like hell bent though against being tested, but they're forcing her. Like the facility guards like literally like shoot her with like a tranq gun to calm her down and bring her in. Meanwhile, the rest of the squad follows Hiro, who they want to visit the garden where they grew up, even though they've been forbidden to go there. And when they go, they see that like all of the newest recruited children are being injected with like much higher doses of yellow blood cells than they were. They basically look like miserable zombies.
Well, and plus you have to think like anything. The 15% statistic, like it has to be less than if they're injecting them with more.
Yeah, for sure. And then Hiro asks if like Naomi, his former partner at the very beginning of the show, has returned to the facility, and a nurse who's there is like, no parasite who ever leaves the garden ever returns back, which is
she dead, fam.
Yeah, she at least that, or she's like exiled and she's probably dead.
There's just so many questions with this world we don't.
There's
have
probably
going
to be some scene later where they show how they just like kill her as soon as she gets on the plane or something.
Almost, yeah, probably. Because, like, they think about these kids having tainted blood, right? So they don't want to let these tainted kids, like, go on living unless they, like, quarantine them somewhere. I don't know. Maybe that's what will happen. And they'll, like, rescue all of these people at some point. But I doubt it. So Hiro has this short monologue talking about how he realized that, you know, I figured this out a long time ago that, like, none of us would ever reach adulthood because kids kept leaving their classes and they would never come back. And so he finds a tree in the garden. He has this vague memory of it. And there's like a flash of like a memory of him with like a younger version of 02, but he can't quite remember what the hell it was. Kokoro asks them all if they ever think about where they came from. Like, she asks them like, is the story that quote, Papa told us, like, that we were all created, like actually true, or do we have like parents or something, or where did we actually come from? Before they can answer that, like the blonde douchebag tells Ichigo that 02 will never coexist with them and that she's only wearing a human guise and pretending to be one of them. And like meanwhile 02 is like looking at her fangs, which seem to be getting like bigger in her mouth, and she like literally cracks a mirror because she's so upset by looking at herself as she changes. So at that point, a bunch of Klaxosaurs show up, which is kind of shocking to the commanding officers because apparently this is a place that the Klaxosaurs have never shown up in before or tried to attack. They were like, oh, I wonder if they realize what we're up to. So 02 fights the battle in like a rage, unable to control her desire to just like murder these Klaxosaurs, and Hiro is like barely able to hold her back. And they get through the battle, but like 02 lets loose with her spear on one of the dead Klaxosaurs, and she's just like screaming and yelling that she's going to kill all of them and she's going to become human. So afterwards, Hiro finds 02 sitting by the lake where they first met, and she's been like biting her nails off basically. And she tells Hiro that she's running out of time to become human, and he tells her that like he doesn't care about her fangs or like anything else, that he's like attracted to the person that she is and that he loves her as she is. She doesn't need to change. But she's pissed, and she responds by like pushing him down and asking like, what do you even mean by love? And she like unzips her top and like shows him like some cleavage and tells him like, I'll show you what comes after kissing. And he stops her though, but she tells him like the whole thing is getting tedious, and after all, he's just like her fodder. So the commanders are discussing how 02's sorification, like literally turning into a Klaxosaur, has accelerated since she and Hiro partnered up. And apparently Hiro's numbers have also changed to the point where he's on the verge of almost not being considered a human anymore either. And Ichigo overhears all this and then goes to talk to 02. 02 is breaking every mirror in sight because she can't stand to see her reflection. And then, so Ichigo goes to the blonde dude again, who explains that 02 is the key to saving the world, which is why she gets away with all the bullshit that she gives the commanders and everything, and killing all of her partners. So in the end, they fight another battle where 02 has just completely lost her shit. And like, there's like a red ghostly version of her, who I call like the red Oni version of her, that rises up and basically starts like physically strangling Hiro by the neck. Like this thing has like a physical form, like he's physically being strangled, telling him to give her his whole life so she can become human and find her darling from back then. And then as this happens, memories start flooding into Hiro's mind of 02 as like this little monster girl, and that's where the episode cuts off.
Yeah, and episode 13 is all about that.
Yeah, it is. I watched that
cool
episode too
because I finally got a little bit of backstory. So like I kind of assumed, like, was she slowly turning into a Klaxosaur or what was going on with that? I don't know. But I thought Crazy 02 was super awesome. But that ends quickly after the next episode. I like the next episode a lot.
Yeah, it's really good. The next episode basically gets back into like where 02 came from, like what her motivations are, which is interesting.
And the obvious background that her and Hiro have. So
yeah, I haven't seen episode 14, which is I'm really curious about, because that'll probably get into like, okay, now that she realizes what her background is and he knows what his background is, what do they do from there? So I'm curious.
Oh, you're right. 14 just came out today, didn't it?
Yeah, like when we're recording this. This is how late we're recording this, Leo.
We're so
Jesus
fucking
Christ.
late. Oh, I'm sorry, but whose fault is it that we're late recording at Bcom?
Everybody's, because we're a team. So any other thoughts on these last couple episodes of the first half of Darling and the Franxx?
No.
Like,
I'm enjoying it a lot more now than I was in the beginning. In the beginning, it was just like, it was almost like this sexual prepubescent nonsense sexual tension, and I was just like, But I was more interested in the world and what's going on now that I've learned more about, like, just only a little bit about the adults and the world they're in. They're at this point we know they're like in an Earth, but like this is later on something bad happened or something like that. Is what I'm assuming. Yeah. So
I'm curious to see where this all goes. I'm definitely more invested now than I was at the beginning because of like all of the recent episodes have been much better than previous ones.
Right.
So yeah, I'm invested. I definitely want to keep watching this. So
I really like where this series is going. I feel like a lot of people like jumped on the hate wagon for this show, and I'm just like, you see, bitches, it is a good anime. Like you see,
yeah, no, it's pretty good so far. But
yeah.
Bcom, are you really going to talk about this?
Oh yeah, we got one more installment of the CiTRASH updates. Episode 11, Love You Only. So they're still on their school trip, right? And they go to a relationship forming shrine. And it's here that Sarah, this new girl, confesses her love to May. And May, who is still pissed at Yuza, asks Sarah one question, like, will you need me? And when Sarah replies yes, May's like, okay, I'll date you then. Because apparently, like, May's upset that Yuzu is like not willing to like let her feelings like be shared, and I don't know, she's just confused. Sarah and Yuzu are still unaware that they're trying to figure their relationship out with the same person, May. So they have this scene in a bath at their hotel where they both basically like encourage each other. There's lots of fan service. Yuzu is feeling discouraged because May refuses to talk to her, but Sarah's like tells her like, you have to confess your love or else you always regret it. And so Yuzu goes to May's room to try to talk to her, but they get interrupted because May's roommate returns. And May pulls Yuzu under the bed covers to hide the fact that she's there. And Yuzu like can't control herself.
I don't want to talk to you. Come like sit in my bed with me. Yeah. Like I hate you so much.
Well, like they have to hide, right? So and then like May or Yuzu like can't control herself and like hugs her, and she tries to kiss her, but May tells her to get the fuck out.
Well, see, and then like conveniently, when May wants to tell her to get the fuck out, suddenly it's fine for them to make noise and like, yeah, no, it's all so contrived.
They are whispering, but yes, I agree, it is ridiculous. The next day, Nina, who is Sarah's like older or younger sister, finally explains to Yuzu what's going on. And Sarah had like figured it out by figuring out that Yuzu's last name was the same as May's. Like she had seen like her identification or something, I forget. And Sarah asked May to kiss her at the top of Kyoto Tower. That's the big cliffhanger. Like, will May kiss her? Anyway, so episode 12, my love goes on and on. Nina makes a big scene as she tries to stop Yuzu from going to confess to May, now that she knows that Sarah is her new girlfriend. And so Nina basically straddles her in the middle of Kyoto Station and cries and yells about how her sister always puts others first and will give up on Mei if she finds out that Yuzu loves her.
See, all I needed this to happen, like in this moment, for this just to be utter ridiculous trash, is for like her to suddenly be like, and now I'm gonna fuck you.
Yeah, I was so expecting that.
Oh god. Kat, this post is for you that I put in the chat.
Oh no, what's this? Oh yeah, it's the sun. It's the scene where Yuzu tries to drop a phone through her cleavage,
like down her boobs. Which okay, even if you have big boobs, it doesn't work. Okay, it doesn't fit in there.
It's just one benefit.
I know a couple of big boob girls at work who.
Okay, you can fit it in your bra, but you can't fit it that way. It has to go like flat, like into the bra.
Oh yeah, okay, I see that.
Yeah, you can't literally like slide it in there like they're doing. Yeah, I can put my smartphone in my bra, but like I can't put it in like that. Like,
so you heard it here, folks.
Yeah, we've learned a lot today. Yuzu meets with Sarah and gets her permission to confess to Mei. Hilariously, Sarah says, "Since I've been dating Mei, I've learned," and like she's literally been dating Mei for less than 24 hours. Like they've literally been on one date, and she's like, "Oh, I've learned this stuff." So apparently, she's learned that Mei is mature but hiding a fragile, wounded heart, and Yuzu needs to try to understand her better. So there's some pointless scenes in between with the other characters, but basically Yuzu finds Mei and at the relationship shrine, and Mei runs away from her because she doesn't want to confront her feelings, but like Yuzu runs after her and like eventually tackles the shit out of her, and explains that she wasn't listening to Mei's feelings on Christmas or even before that and wasn't trying to fix things, but now she wants to listen, and she tells her she loves her and that if Mei loves her, she should kiss her back. Mei is embarrassed, so she like presses her little teddy bear that she has for some reason.
That is so fucking dumb, by the way.
It's so cute. It's
It's not cute, you moe slut. They have literally almost fucked. She should not be embarrassed to kiss her. Like, just fucking kiss her. God damn.
Well, Yuzu thanks her for the teddy bear kiss, but then says, "One more time," and then she leans in and gives Mei a real kiss. So Kat got what she wanted.
I didn't even want it. I just think this whole thing is stupid and
Kat, you are right. This whole thing is
stupid. Yeah. So Sarah asks for one last chance to talk with Mei alone, and she tells Mei to be more selfish about her feelings and that she'll forgive her if she holds hands with Yuzu on their way home that night. So they do. They hold hands. Yuzu asks Mei if that kiss means that she really loves her, and Mei responds that she won't know for sure until they try dating. And that's basically how it ends, with Mei and Yuzu starting to date and figure things out. It's weird because like I felt like this whole relationship went in reverse. Like in the beginning you would kiss a teddy bear, right? Instead of kissing the actual person or something.
Dumb.
It's like it starts with like tons of sexual assault and almost sex, and then reverts to kissing teddy bears. It's really funny. CiTRASH was trash, and so am I. So yeah,
it should tell you something if I've read the manga and stopped midway, which is a hard thing to do.
All right.
Like I got to the point like I can't take any more of this. So you want to do final season scores?
Yeah, let's get into it. We got final season scores for all of the 11 shows we reviewed because of CiTRASH, which was our 11th show.
All right.
So yeah, we'll stick it off. We'll go in the order of everything that we did. So Kokoku, I will lead this off. This show never did anything that interested me with its premise. Like it had a really cool premise, and I complained all along that like I wanted them to do cooler stuff with the time travel and like managing time. And then the ending was like a big Deus Ex Machina that allowed her to get out of there. And like everything in the last few episodes just kind of felt like a little bit rushed, with not a lot of real thought put into how it worked. And I didn't know like what the message of this series was really supposed to be. Like, what was I supposed to take away from this show? I don't know. But I do give them credit for creating something like that was really weird and unique, even if it didn't quite work for me. But all that being said, I give this a 4 out of 10. It was below average.
So you're saying it's bad?
Well, by my anime list standards, it would be bad, but I consider it below average, a 4. Like, 5 is average, this is just below average.
Okay, so I gave it a 6 out of 10. I enjoyed the show, and it was okay. The thing is, the rules of stasis should have been more clear. They did a bunch of random stuff at the end, and, I kind of did enjoy it a little bit, so that's why I'll rank it just above a 5. So
a 6?
Yeah.
I said 6 out of 10 at the beginning.
It's not bad. I gave it a 6.5. I really enjoyed the show week to week. Like, I had a lot of fun with it. Like, near the end where they started doing the shit with, like, the jizz on the church and
That was weird.
then the, like, week ending, I was kind of like, oh, it's going downhill. But, like, it was good overall, and I really did enjoy it week to week. It's one of those shows that was fun. So, like, I'm giving it a 6.5.
That's a fair score. Like, I think if you like this show, that's a fair score for it. Yeah. Anything above that, and I'm like, I don't know. There's too many faults with this show. Yeah.
Yeah. So moving on, Mitsubishi Colors. I gave it a 7 out of 10. I just really overall enjoyed the show, and I would totally look forward to another season. And every week, I was looking forward to just watching another episode of this show. It's such a feel-good show. If you're feeling a little down one day, or you have to watch Ito Junji or Violet Evergarden, just set up an episode after this. At the very least, it'll make you smile once. Where it suffered was like the animation at times. Yeah. I wasn't really bothered by it, but it also wasn't the greatest. Other than that, love the series and would absolutely watch another season.
I would too. Yeah. How about you, Kat?
So I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. The attitude in the show was the part that was cute. The rest of it, like, I started to get bored, especially towards the end. But, like, the attitude was cute. And overall, it was all right. So,
yeah. For me, the show had a great, like, sense of humor. And, like, it definitely leaned hard on the characters, who their interactions with each other were really funny. It was definitely held back by its weak animation and its weird, like, background art that, like, sometimes was just literally photographs that they, like, blurred, like they do in visual novels sometimes, to save time. And, like, the simplicity of the world and their adventures worked to the show's benefit at times, but left me wanting more at other times. But I think it works well as, like, a show aimed at little girls. And we praised it for not being stupid and fan servicey. And yeah, the humor consistently worked for me, but it's still not, like, the greatest show ever by any means. I can't give it more than a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
Yep.
Jucat.
Oh, okay. So Karakai no Jozo no Takagi-san. I gave it a 4 because, like, it's so fucking boring. Like, I almost gave it a 3, but, like, it's not terrible in and of itself. It's just boring as fuck. Like, you will want to pull your eyes out of its sockets just for something to do while you're watching this show. You'll just be like, I can't even. I just want to rip my nails off my hands or something. Like, so I can feel something while I'm watching this anime because it's boring. It's really boring.
Yeah. By far the best thing to come out of the show, it's been getting subbed on YouTube by a couple of YouTubers, are these skits that Rie Takahashi and Yuki Kaji, the voice actors for the show, have been doing, where they, like, tease each other and do other, like, cute things, and it's so funny. Like, the voice actors behind the two main characters are amazing, and I just wish that the show had given them better material to work with, because, like, on their own, they're so charismatic and so funny. So I'm glad that the show allowed them to do these funny skits based on the show, but the show itself was just like a torture session, like, with no firm conclusion. And I'm just like, I didn't like the dynamic of, like, the characters after a certain point. It was too
a torture
repetitive.
Session for the characters and for us.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. It just got too repetitive too. Like, they repeated too many jokes. So yeah, in the end, I also gave this a 4 out of 10. I think it was just below average.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I gave it a 5 out of 10. It should have been a short rather than a whole show like it was. It should have been actually one of the couples out of Surrogate Children. And that would have been awesome. Then I would have loved them. But like you also already said, some of the jokes got repeated, and that's not a good thing. So I don't think it was bad, but I don't think it was good. So it definitely gets that 5 out of 10 for me.
That's fair. Yeah. All right. A place further than universe. So if I had to think of like a main criticism for the show, is that I wish they had gotten to Antarctica sooner, or that they had the show had spent longer and spent more time in that like interesting setting rather than on the way to get there. I understand why they did it the way they did, but like I just wanted to spend more time in the interesting part of the show, which is in Antarctica, rather than the whole journey. But of course, like the characters' arcs are about their journeys to get there, so it makes sense. Every like emotional beat at the end of the show like really hit with me, except with maybe like Yuzuki's story, which was like, it didn't like bowl me over like Hinata and Shirase's stories did. The art design, the animation were both fantastic, and the music was really fitting. So yeah, in the end, 9 out of 10. Like I thought it was very good. One of the best shows of the season, easily.
Yeah, I'll also give it 9 out of 10. It's an extremely good show. It basically did everything perfect. For whatever reason, I can't figure out, I wasn't enjoying the last half as much as the first. So that's the polar opposite of you, Bcom.
Yeah.
Their journey to getting to Antarctica, I enjoyed more than the final half.
Yeah.
And I think that was probably because I'm not a fan of drama.
Yeah, there was a lot of drama in that last half.
Yeah. So I think that's why I ended up giving it the 9 out of 10. Okay. What do you think, Kat?
Yeah, so I felt like this anime is really good in some ways. But like it never gets really real with the issues it addresses, only in that like happy feel good way. I kind of felt like this show is like moe-tastic with a dash of drama in there. Like it doesn't, like it only addresses the real issues that it does get into at a certain level. It doesn't go deeper than that. So I can't give it more than an 8, but it is a really good anime, and it's really well produced too. Yeah,
Madhouse did a great job. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think you're crazy, Kat. But Violet Evergarden, it's a very interesting premise and a gorgeous show, but it just left me hanging on so many questions. And also, I felt like it had a super slow start. I was not convinced about this show 3 episodes in. I had to see at least 5 to decide that I wanted to keep watching it. The middle was great. And then I just at the end, like I said, that's when I had all these questions when it finally ended. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
Okay. So I think that's fair. I think there's a lot of people who I've seen reacting to the show on the internet who are around that score on it.
Yeah. It just ended, and I'm just like, what's going on? And I had to reflect to you to tell me what actually happens in the light novel to know, her backstory and who was actually at the door and other stuff. And I'm just like, it just ruins it for me, I feel like. What do you think, Kat?
Yeah, so I felt like this show is kind of like, at the very beginning of the show, I hated it and I was really angry with the show because I felt like at the very beginning of Violet Evergarden, they did the same thing that they did in Mangus Bride, where like they kind of idolized the idea of like this emotionally traumatized like victim character, and I really hate it when shows do that.
Who was underaged.
Yeah, and I was just
that was a weird element that they didn't need to have in the show.
She didn't need to be 14. Shows, and it's like
correct.
Well, yeah, but also like they do in a lot of shows where they're like, "Ooh, look at this person who's been fucked up," and like, isn't it interesting to look at? And like they kind of idolize it, and it's like, like that kind of thing should not be looked at in that way. It's not. It's horrific and awful. Like I don't know. It always bothers me when shows do that. But then throughout the show, they did get a lot better. Like this show went significantly up and got better and better with each episode, whereas like Mangus Bride just kept going down and down with each episode, in my opinion. And it ended really well. There are problems with the show. Like I felt like there was this whole spot between, I think like episode 4 or something, where she just becomes like a whole different character almost. Like she progresses a lot as a character and gets much better at her job. And they just completely don't cover that in the anime at all. But then I kind of decided later on in the show that they did that on purpose because they didn't want to focus on her as a character. They wanted to focus on the ideas they were trying to talk about. But it's still a weakness of the show. So, yeah. All in all, I liked it at the end, but there were parts of it I really didn't like. But I still gave it a 9.5 because, like, it is a good anime. It covers a lot of things that a lot of anime don't.
Damn.
So.
Yeah, so I've mulled over my score a lot. And I think I've basically been mulling over my score since like the first episode aired for this show. And like this show, more than any other show this season, I've talked to like multiple podcasters about. I've like argued about it on like Reddit and in like different Discord servers for like months now. And so it was actually interesting to like come down to the end and be like, what do I score this anime? Because while I clearly have like issues with it, at the same time, it's like one of the strongest anime I've ever seen visually. The music is fantastic. All the production is just like out of this world fantastic. And I do think at its highs, like the highs that the show hit are like really, really high. Like in episode 7, when she's jumping across the lake, or in episode 9, where we find out like the culmination of everything that she's done up to that point is what helps her get through her problems as she's learning about like her burn marks on the inside. And then episode 10 was a great like bottle episode coming down from that episode. And then like the final 3 episodes were fine. Like I don't think they were the greatest episodes ever, but they were a good end to the series. And of course, like I talked about earlier in this podcast, it leaves a lot of weird questions hanging open. But that's because KyoAni had to adapt this light novel that wasn't really the greatest source material and make it into something that people could actually care about. And I think they did a really, really good job of that. They could have gone a little bit farther and made it even better. But I think what's here is still one of the best anime of the season. So I will give this a 9 out of 10 in the end.
Now, I'm going to qualify. If they come out with the sequel, based on what Bcom has said, it will be some trash.
I believe so, yeah.
Because they won't have anything
I'm
else.
very curious.
One episode to go, so...
Well, but I heard there's talks about a sequel. And I don't like
there's
that
another project
talk.
planned after that 14th Blu-ray episode that's going to come out. Yeah.
Oh, is it still with
here
Netflix
right
though?
now is
I don't
good.
know. I don't know if it's Netflix or not. There's not much information about it yet. So, yeah.
Stop.
Kat, what did you think of
playing.
After the Rain?
Get out of here. Go.
My dog and my cat are like wrestling on the ground, like right next to me.
We
Well,
can
it's
barely hear
entertainment.
them.
Okay, that's good. At least you can't hear them. I figured it'd be loud. Okay, so After the Rain, I gave this a 9 out of 10. I really, really like this show. I know you guys didn't like it as much as me. I love the presence of literature in it. I thought it had a lot of deep thinking and deep thought in the show. There were certain episodes of the show that I watched several times because I liked it so much. The ending was not the greatest part of it. It was more the middle. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah. So yeah, for me. Oh wait, did you say what score you gave it? I forgot.
Yeah, I gave it a 9 out of 10.
Oh, okay.
But that might
You were
just
in
be
crazy.
my personal. That's just might be just my personal things because I love like the theme of it and the fact it has a lot of literature and like a lot of deep thought in it. It's my kind of show in those ways. But
Yeah, early on in the show, I was definitely like, I rate shows as I go along on my anime list, and I definitely had this sitting at a 9 for a long time. Because it's just like incredible production wise. Like the direction and animation and art direction of the show are like impeccable. Like they're so good. I'm really excited for Studio Wit to do other stuff that is not Attack on Titan or Cabinet of the Iron Fortress, like going forward, because like they can really kill it with like interesting material like this.
See, it's really interesting to me how you rate shows as opposed to how I rate shows, like with Violet Evergarden and this one, because I don't give a fuck about how it looks. Like I care about like whereas you really focus on that, and that's fine. That's just personal stuff.
Yeah, I like having different perspectives. Like, 'cause, like I know there's a lot of people who watch anime and they could care less about how it looks if it tells a good story, but like anime to me is like a visual medium. Like why make it an anime if it's just a good story? Like do something visually to accentuate that story. So
yeah, whereas
that's
for me,
where
like,
I come from it.
For you went from a 9 down and I went from down to a 9 like in the middle of it. So
Yeah.
Yeah, but we also completely disagree on how the ending went.
Yeah, like
That's true.
for me, it was a little bit of a letdown because I felt that they built up in the first half that like romantic focus, which I didn't expect. Like, let me be clear. I did not expect their romance to actually go anywhere because I was like, no, this show is too smart for that. Like, they're not going to like just have them get together in the end. But I felt like they kind of didn't pass the baton from the first half of the show to that latter half of the show as cleanly as I would have hoped. And for that, like, it loses some points for me. Like, and just the ending was a little bit open-ended. Like, it was nice. Like, they both figured things out. But like, I think that there were other themes of the show that they just like brushed under the rug there. So at the end, I could only really give it a 7 out of 10 because it just didn't completely jive with me. So.
Yeah, same for me. I gave it 7 out of 10. I thought it was a pretty good anime up until the final episode. It was very good looking. The eyes were beautiful. But what killed me was there's just no closure for Kondo and Akira at the very end. And I'm just left wondering what the hell happened. Yeah. And that's basically it.
Maybe we'll get a sequel, Leo.
Oh, are we?
Oh, no, I don't know. I doubt it. I think it's over.
It's a Noi Tavina show. It's not getting a sequel.
True.
All right, let's move on to your camp then.
All right. So as an Iyashike series, this pretty much nailed everything it set out to do, in my opinion. A few things held this back from like a perfect score or something for me, though. Like, one is that by its very nature, it's very like advertising centric for like real campsites that exist in real life. I know that's like maybe like a weird negative, but like a lot of the time that was spent in this show on like tourist campaign moments and stuff could have been spent on like fleshing out the characters. And then if you were interested in the places in the show, you could have gone and looked them up outside of the show. But clearly, like, that's what this anime was about. It was about promoting these real life campsites. And like, there's articles that are being written about how like campsites are seeing like 3 times as many visitors this fall and winter in Japan. So,
oh, seriously?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it did work. But yeah, like, because of that, like, the characters in the show, like, while some of them are really good, like, they don't have like a lot of real depth or like conflict or motivations. And while that's nice, like, to just like relax with, like, it would have been a more interesting show if there was a little bit more to dig into. And while it looked fine, it wasn't like the best looking series I've seen by like a long shot. Like, for Iyashike especially, like, No No Biori is much better in terms of like background art, and other cute girls doing cute things shows are better in terms of their character animation. However, the people who drew Rin's faces from week to week need to like get a raise or something, because holy shit, her faces are so amazing.
They're pretty awesome.
And the composer of the music, Akiyuki Tateyama, I have the soundtrack now, and I've been listening to it, and it is so relaxing. It is so nice. I will be listening to this soundtrack for a long time when I want to chill out.
Are you dancing naked through your apartment to the what the fuck is that thing solo?
God damn.
Oh, the kazoo solo.
The kazoo solo.
I should buy a kazoo and try to play that. But yeah, for me, Eurocamp is an 8 out of 10. Like, it really nailed it, with just like a couple of flaws holding it back.
I flat out gave it a 9 out of 10. This show, I gotta get the soundtrack. I have not got it yet. I am so up for a rewatch with somebody because this would just be awesome. I love all the characters, even if they don't go in depth with their like character backstory. Like, I still like love them awesomely. I feel like this would have taken away from the enjoyment from the show if they had gone into that, but it's just relaxing to watch a show where there's basically no conflict, and what there is just it's played off as comedy, so you don't have to go in and be like worried or anything like that. I mean, people literally refer to the show as Comfy Camp, so I mean, there's a reason. I almost feel like I should give it an 8, but I can't really find a fault in this show, so I feel like it definitely deserves its 9 out of 10.
Okay.
And it's just such a good show. I think everybody should watch it.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Which is basically my main take. Kat?
Yes, I gave it a 7.5. I really like this anime.
Boo!
It's like almost exactly my score. Like,
I really, it was fun
score
to watch week to week. I really hope for a season 2, but in the end, it has no real substance. And like, except for shows that I have like weird nostalgia stuff for, like I really don't give anything a 9 or a 10 unless it's like really deep or something. So like I reserve those for shows that are serious. So like this isn't a serious show. It's not as good as A Place Further Than the Universe, but it is really, really good, and it's really,
I
really
rated
fun.
it better.
Yeah, that's a little interesting, but hey, you know, it's okay. Like everyone has their show they like better. So yeah, for me, it's a 7.5.
Okay.
So the next show is Hakata Tonkotsu Ramens, and I gave it a 7 out of 10. I mean, it's just a pretty fun action show about assassins. I barely saw anybody talking about it, and that's kind of a shame because it kind of came out of nowhere, and it's decent.
Yeah, it did fly under the radar for how it's like a well-directed show. It's like pretty well animated. Well, I bet you a bunch of people got turned off by the main character dressing as a girl.
I'm surprised you say that, Bcom.
No, because like I figured there's a bunch of people who were like, oh, they're gonna do something really uncomfortable with this, and they were just like, let's not watch this.
Tell the fine people at home what you rated this show. Now that you've said all that.
So I never bought. Okay, I'll just say I rated it a 5, which is like an average show. I never bought into any of the characters. Like I was saying, like week to week, I was just like, I don't know why I should care about these people. I just don't. I felt like the ending was kind of dumb. Like like I said, I didn't like that. Lin did not save Fei Lan or like try to like save him. Like I would have liked the ending. I would have liked the ending more if Lin had like not been able to kill him, and then Fei Lan had like one last like attempt to like kill, and Bomba had been there to like shoot him or something.
I wouldn't have liked that because you know what, Lin needs to take care of his own problems, and Fei is Lin's problem, so Lin has to take care of him.
I also just never really was comfortable with like what the show was trying to say about Lin in Lin like cross-dressing. It was just like, oh, Lin likes the cross-dress for no particular reason. He just likes it. And I'm like, okay, like I guess I can accept that. But like it's weird to make your main character like cross-dress and be an assassin and then like fall into the lap of the other character all the time and like live with him and basically be his girlfriend for all intents and purposes except that they're not having sex. See, it's like, what is this for? I really liked
it because you know what? They had different characters. They did things with their characters that I don't think any anime has done before. Like they didn't make it so that just because he's cross-dresses, he's an effeminate character.
True.
Like, you know what I mean? And they had like a gay couple. They had different. They had a lot of characters in this that were not even just LGBT characters. Like a lot of their characters were just different and unique, and like the ways that they approach the fact that they are assassins and like they do these ruthless things, but then they're also really friendly with each other. I really liked it. The characterization for me is what makes the show good and different. I was also really upset that a lot of people didn't seem to give a shit about this show. Yeah. I really hope there's a season 2, but my cynical side says there won't be. And really, I think like a weakness of the show is that it wasn't 24 episodes because it's such a big world. And I feel like it would have been a better show if they'd had more time to do it.
Yes, there's still so much more they can do if they do a season 2. But what was your guys' scores, Bcom?
5 and Kat, I think you gave it a...
Yeah, I gave it a 7, just like 7. Leo did.
So.
Yeah, I gave it a 7. It's just a pretty fun action about assassins. And yeah, I'm just ashamed that I saw nobody talking about this. And I just feel like out of the whole season, this is more the hidden gem. It's actually a pretty decent show that people were not watching. And I would love to see more like LGBT stuff type going on, which is what it kind of started really talking about once you look at the whole series as a show. But Kat, you want to take the next one?
Okay, so for me, I'm so pissed at both of you fuckers for this. So the next one is Ito Junji, and I gave it a 6 out of 10. It's a hard show to rate because some of the stories are really good and some are just not at all and just comical. But I enjoyed it a lot, like both the comical ones and the really good ones, because like you either would get a really good laugh and it would be entertaining in that way, or you'd be like, holy fuck, what is this? Like with the Grease episode, and be like, oh, that was really good. Either way, you win. Like, I don't know why y'all hate this show so fucking much that you gotta just pull your pants down and just shit on it, like, right in front of me. I don't understand.
Because, like, it's an episodic show, right? And for me, like, in an episodic show, like, each episode needs to be interesting, or at least, like, if you're being like a little lenient, like 80% of the episodes need to be interesting in some way. And like for me in this show, it was more like 30% of the episodes were interesting. And like I'm only going to look back on like a few episodes from this series and be like, oh yeah, that one was actually pretty decent. And like there's not one episode of the series that I was like, oh, that was incredible. Like the thing that came closest was maybe that Grease thing, because that really just like crawled into the back of my brain and like put up like a fucking like hotel there and was like, I'm gonna remind you every time you're cooking now with oil that this could happen to you. And it's like, oh fuck. But like a lot of that is because like Junji Ito's stories themselves are so good, and I feel like the anime didn't do a great job of accentuating how good those stories were and like presenting them in a really interesting way with some really interesting art. And like I think for a horror show that's like a bit of a failure, that like a lot of these episodes were not scary at all, or like were only slightly unsettling, or just made me go like, oh okay, like, you know, rather than like holy shit like the Grease episode. So yeah, it was just very hit and miss. I ended up giving this a 3 out of 10.
You're terrible. You're fucking
like, especially
terrible.
when compared with the source material, it's real bad in comparison. So yeah,
so I flat out gave it a 3 out of 10. The only thing I liked about the show, I thought the art style was unique and kind of cool, but I found every single story just plain boring, and it was such a pain for me to watch. It was almost a self-torture.
Well, it is a self-torture because you chose this.
Y'all at home,
every single episode.
Like, don't listen to these bitches. If you like horror at all, like, give it a try. You'll like it.
I do. I love horror, which is partially why I fucking hated the shit out of it. So I'm like,
you guys
this
are
is just
so
ridiculous
picky.
nonsense.
God damn, it's a horror anime. It's fucking good and entertaining for a horror anime.
I don't think so. I think so many of the episodes are just boring.
God.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but you know what's not boring? Darling in the FranXX, which we'll give mid-season scores, because who knows if we're going to actually continue watching this. We have to decide on that in the upcoming podcast. So for this one, Darling in the Franxx, mid-season, I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10, which is a little low, but it's because like I still, even at this point, like halfway through the series, don't know exactly what they're trying to say. They've introduced like a whole bunch of topics and themes about like sexual innuendo, like gender identity, sexual repression, but I'm still not exactly sure where they're going with all of it. And I'm not sure if I trust Trigger to like handle these things in like a responsible way that won't come off as like really offensive at some point.
No, they did kill the kill, so...
Yeah,
I think they'll do it fine.
Yes. Yeah, the scenes between Satsuki Kiryuin and her mother were fantastic.
That's another subject. we'll visit that another time.
So yeah, it's still above average for me because it is a thought-provoking show, and I think second to Violet Evergarden, this is the show I've had like the most interesting conversations about outside of the show, maybe After the Rain as well, but those couple of shows like are the ones that like made me think the most, which I appreciate. So yeah, Leo, how'd you think about it?
My score is actually based off the next episode, the 13th episode, which I would have originally had it as 6 out of 10, but I'm putting it as 7 out of 10. And I'm just really having a hard time rating this until I get to see the bigger picture.
I agree.
It's doing barely enough to keep my interest, and I know these characters very well, so it's doing good there also, but like I don't know why I'm invested. I'm not really sure at this point.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's part of why I'm still watching it. So that's why it gets to 7 rather than 6.
I'll say one more thing that I forgot. It's just like with all the fighting scenes, like it's hard to get invested in the fight scenes, even if they look okay. Because like they still haven't introduced any like real stakes in this series.
No. Yeah. And like the fights aren't like really that like crazy like they used to be in like Gurren Lagann.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's interesting what to do with that. But Kat, what do you think about it?
I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 for now. If it ends badly, it could go down. But like for right now, I think it's a really good anime. Like some people in the community will continue to bash it. They'll continue to say it's shit, blah, blah, blah. I don't fucking care. It has a lot of good stuff in the world building. And they have yet to explore a lot of the world that like they keep hinting at. And I think it's really interesting and unique in a lot of ways. Like, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Oh yeah, there's a ton about the adults. Like that's where my main interest is like what's going on with the adults, and also why like they are also like we just now learned they were allowed to become teenagers and hit puberty, and like what's the big difference there, which they really haven't gone into. But
well, yeah, because it's combining two elements, right? It's combining like the seriousness of the world building, which is interesting, with like the hilarity of the idea of like the only way they can pilot the mechs is by basically fucking each other in the mechs. And like the contrast between the two is amazing. Like I knew from episode 2, even like when they first did it, I was like, oh, this is the show for me. And then they added like, but I figured it was just a trash show that I was going to really enjoy. And then they added like the actually interesting world building stuff. And now I like it even more. So
yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
But if we go to the next show, which is CiTRASH, I'm not even going to fucking rate it because I've read the manga and I knew better than watch the goddamn show.
Leo, we were in this together. God damn it. You didn't.
Leo's like unrated NC-17 is his rating.
I'm just not even going to try. It's awful.
Kat,
you
what
guys
would you
take
give
this.
CiTRASH?
Okay, so I gave it a 3.5. I think this would have been bad, like even on my Yuri Yaoi scale, like because I kind of feel like with a Yaoi or a Yuri, you have to judge it on its own scale because you go into it knowing it's mostly going to be trash. But even on that scale, it's not great. Like too many characters introduced just to get in the way of each other romantically, too much chaos, like too much sexual assault. The only good thing I can say about this anime is the idea explored that someone who has gone through sexual assault a lot, like Mei, like as their first experience, like is likely to do it to others or have weird ideas about the idea of consent and about that sort of thing. Because I do think that's a real thing. And I don't think I've ever seen that covered in an anime before, so I give it props for that. But on the whole, it's just a shit show. So
yeah, and I guess I'll start with the good. Like this show was well produced. Like it looks good. Like the character designs look nice. There was some really terrible CGI stuff from like the beginning with like the crowds at the school though. Like it doesn't always look good, but like I was surprised at how well made this anime was for like the material it was actually adapting, because like it is just an unbelievably ridiculous and like offensive take on what gay women are like and their relationships. Like imagine if Mei was a man. Just like imagine that situation, and he sexually assaulted his little stepsister into falling in love with him.
Or
it
even
really
if
shouldn't
like
change
he
things.
sexually assulted his stepbrother into falling in love.
Or
with
that,
him.
yes.
Like,
but
it would've
like,
been
I don't
Those are
know.
just other animes,
a lot
guys.
of times
Come
with
on.
like a lot of times though, like with women, it's somehow like okay because they're both women. It's weird.
They're
Like,
fetishizing
there's not
like
a penis
lesbians,
involved, so it
like,
must be more acceptable. Like,
and, like everybody at their school is a lesbian. Like everybody who is introduced in the anime wants to like have sex with them and does, or like tries to at least. Like it's just so over the top and ridiculous. I might have liked this more if it had laser focused on Mei and Yuzu's story with like the help of some side characters who weren't complete psychopaths. But no, it didn't do that.
Nope,
Wasn't
too bad.
interested.
That's not what happens.
Yeah. So this was a 3 out of 10 for me as well. Like, it was just really bad. The only thing that was holding it up, like I said, was like good production, some pretty funny moments. Yuzu is like a fun character because she's really dumb, and I wish she was in a different show. But yeah, not good. CiTRASH, the final update.
I think that's everything.
Yeah, we made it to the end of winter 2018 season. Congratulations, everybody.
Yeah.
We did it.
We talked about way too much.
Yeah, we did. We will have a First Impressions podcast coming up soon for the first couple weeks of spring 2018 shows, which we've been watching. There's some really good ones, and there's some really, really bad ones, as usual. So that'll be fun. So look forward to that. Otherwise, thank you for listening. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe to us on YouTube to get updates on the new podcasts or videos. Follow us on Twitter at Nerdom and Other for updates. And also leave us like a 5-star review on iTunes telling me how beautiful my voice is if you want a cat to read it. That would be fantastic.
Oh, God.
I loved that. That was amazing. Thank you, your snowman. You are my hero.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Yeah, see ya.
Later.